Make you the host.
Oh, we are live. Oh, we,
It's
all right,
live
there we
now.
go. Yeah, we're
All
live. What's going on,
right.
everybody? It's
Bye.
fucking talking shit with
Yes.
Smiley Garden and Grow Ghost and Eagle Garden getting us fired up there. We had a little confusion, so what's going on, Grow Ghost? Glad to have you out, man. I hope you had a really great week.
Yeah, it's just the same old shit, different toilet paper.
Yeah, no kidding, man. Shit happens, you just gotta shovel it, right? That's fuck all we can do.
That's right. Turn it into compost.
Yeah. So I'm gonna bring up the live stream on YouTube. Get chat going. Why don't you give a shout out to let people know where they can reach out to you or who you are or whatever.
Oh well, I'm just on Instagram right now as the Grow Ghost. That's it. That's the only social media that I do. I stay away from Facebook and all that. I haven't yet like ventured over there with this whole thing. I try to keep who I really am as something on the back burner because. Can you hear me still? I can't hear you, Smiley.
Sorry, man. I had to shift it on mute because it'll play back through on the YouTube. So my bad.
Okay.
We're good now. I won't go to mute.
I'm just figuring it out, so it's all good. I like to keep my well. When I started doing this shit wasn't legal, for one, and so I guess I've kind of kept that old school mentality of kind of hide who you are, but yet in a way it's a kind of it don't matter who you are kind of thing. It doesn't matter what the fuck I look like.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because we come from all different backgrounds. We're all slightly different, but yet we come together over this. So, it's just kind of it doesn't really matter who you are kind of deal. But yeah, I don't do any other social media. I just jumped onto this to kind of show what I was doing, and it's been a trip. I've shown a lot to people, but in the same text, I've learned so much from so many people. So it's been a real cool thing, been a cool experience to get on there and do this. And I just, I like the little Instagram family that I kind of have. There's several cool guys that I talk to quite often. Some of them that we talk sporadically here and there, but just a lot of cool people in this community, and it's a fun thing to do. Anybody who grows cannabis enjoys growing it, and it's just a fun thing to do. So if someone wants to reach out and say something to me, ask me a question, I'll answer what I can answer, and if I can't answer it, I'll try to point you towards somebody who can. But like I said, I'm constantly learning. This whole thing, especially if you're into organics, it's constantly evolving. It's constantly growing or constantly learning new things about it, different inputs and different bacterias and different fungus that break everything down. And I like to experiment with it all. When I started this whole thing, the Grow Ghost concept was I started growing because I got my med card and everything, and it was legal for me to grow. So I started doing it, with a little bit less paranoia involved. And as I was researching it, I saw such a array of shit on YouTube and on the internet. And some of it was just like outlandish, you know what I mean? This like stuff that I couldn't believe. One that I always like to hit on is hot sauce to get rid of soil pests.
Yeah.
And hot sauce is a soil drench. And so I saw all this stuff and I'm like, shit, man, this shit can be confusing for people. Someone goes on and sees this, they got all their money invested in this. They got their time invested in this. They're running electricity, and some asshole tells you to dump hot sauce through your soil, and you get a fucking anaerobic mess, and your shit dies. You just wasted money on seed, time, and everything. That's fucking discouraging. You know, that's real discouraging. So what I thought to myself was, well, I'm going to go through and I'm going to call bullshit on all this stuff, and I'm going to actually beta test it and see if it works or not. So that's what I did. You know, if I saw something that said, this is what a calcium deficiency looks like, and this is how you fix it, I would test it. I would drain my plant of calcium. I wouldn't give it any calcium. I'd drain it, see what the deficiency looked like, and then I'd try to remedy that. And I'd do it with, you know, I'd have like 2 or 3 plants set that I would deprive, and I would try 2 or 3 different things to get them to come back and see what happened. So I got to experiment with a lot of the bullshit that was on the internet, and I found a lot of cool things that really work. Like you look at them and you hear them and you're like, yeah, right.
Right.
But you try it and you're like, no shit, that fucking really worked. I can't believe that, you know? So, you know, it's been cool, but that's what I did for 3 years solid. Was I just tested every single thing I could come across on there. And I burnt up a lot of plants. I killed a lot of fucking plants. And then, you know, about Earthbox, probiotic gardening and whatnot, watching Kevin Jodry on a Taco Tuesday with the Soil King.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And he's
Taco Tuesday.
Hell yeah. And Soil King's the shit too, by the way. That guy's
He is cool, Patrick.
so cool, man. He talked, you know, I reached out to him a couple times. He's talked to me. He's helped me with a few things. A giveaway gone wrong that included one of his products from someone else. And this guy fixed it for me by getting me the product that was supposed to be given to me by someone else. This motherfucker upped and gave me the shit.
That's what's up, man. That's the community right there.
That's exactly what's up, you know, and that says a lot about him. So, but you know, I was watching that and I saw Kevin Jodry talk about Louis the 14th. Is that right?
13th, I believe. Yeah.
And he said some dude gave him a cut. It was all fucked up, and he put it in one of these earth boxes, and he saved it. So I was like, oh, cool, you know. And he shows one of his plants. He's like, look at the pliability of this thing. These plants are notoriously barky, really, really, you know, rugged structurally. You try to bend them, they snap. But the one in the earth box, nice and pliable, but yet really strong. So that fascinated me, and I moved in that direction immediately and started testing that. And I found that to be, as far as indoor gardening, there's nothing better. There's nothing more surefire. There's nothing simpler, easier, less maintenance, more cost effective, and just better all around. I noticed I can have, like, my Clyde's Kush has mainly been my testing plant through the 5 years, because I've become so familiar with this plant and tested it with so many different things that if I'm going to test something, that's the plant that I'm going to clone it. I'm going to, you know, try to keep them even. And I'm going to run my test on that, because I know what it shows for signs, what it looks like when it's deficient in certain nutrients. And so I stick to that. But what I noticed with the Grow Biotic, what I call my personal twist on it, is Grow Biotics. And you know, it's just an adjustment of inputs, and I don't use EM1, I don't use Bokashi, I don't use anything that you can buy from the store, except for oatmeal, which I grind up into flour, brown rice, which I grind up into flour. I use powdered milk. I've used super soil. I've used neem. I've used all kinds of different top dressings, I guess you could call it, manures and mushroom compost, but kind of squirreling off. But what I notice is I can have a plant in cocoa coir, perlite, vermiculite running on, you know, an advanced nutrient or a fox farm, a salt. And then I can have one in my living soil, my super soil mix, which I use the old school method. I don't do a whole bucket of super soil, which I think a lot of people get confused with that. Sometimes they fill their pot up with it And if it's not the right type of mix, you're going to burn your shit right up. I do the old school, do the bottom third, put a buffer in between, like an inch or two buffer layer of peat moss. You can use, I've used cocoa coir, but I like peat moss with a lot of vermiculite and perlite. Put that on, put your pot in, fill some of the sides up with the super soil, but always keep a buffer in between. I can have that going, and then I can have my probiotic going. And the probiotic grow system, the plant doesn't look anything like the other two. The other two are very similar, but this one has way bigger leaves. It's a better green. It's a more healthy, vibrant plant. And even though it takes like a week and a half to 2 weeks for that pot to get acclimated and get that fungal mass in there and get the probiotics really breaking shit down, once that thing kicks in, man, boom, that plant explodes and just grows out of control crazy. I've had a 6.5 foot plant with a 4 foot radius,
Dang.
you know, and a 3.5 foot canopy out of one of those little windowsill style, you know, containers, about 2.5 feet long, about 6 inches across, and only 5-6 inches deep. But the plant just grows like crazy. So, you know, anybody out there who wants to really grow something simplistically and get great results and have optimal plant health, if you do that right, you can't go wrong. It'll save you on water, save you on nutrients, saves you a lot of money. Really, it's a great system. So that's kind of what that's kind of what I do. I do a little bit of everything. And if I read about something, I like to try it. I like to test it. I have like 70 bottles of ferments downstairs of just everything, you know, everything from celery to carrots to pineapples to mandarin oranges to watermelon, cantaloupe and brown sugar. That's my go-to. I've like, you know, for the potassium and for the like metabolize that plant. And I learned that from Brown Guy 420. I don't know if you've ever heard of him.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. So that's where I saw him. Yeah. So I saw him, you know, say that when he was working. I think he works for Solo Farms.
Yep. I think that's his logo or whatever. So
yeah, and he, you know, someone was like, "Hey, you got a tip for flour?" He's like, "Here's my tip for flour. Just do this: macerated cantaloupe." And I tried it, dude, and I was like, "Son of a bitch! Look at this thing just go crazy!" You know, like sticky, and so it works real good. If anybody else, you know, I put it on as on my Instagram page. And I love to use it, but any melon works good for that kind of shit, you know, for a nice potassium, you know, boost on it. I've used watermelon, I've used it all. I've even taken the juice from a can of pineapple that you get off the shelf at the store, and I've dumped that into my soil to see what it would do. And no harm, no foul, as long as you've got enough organic matter, enough living, you know, shit in your soil to consume that. You really can't hurt it unless you're, you know, taking a dump in it or something like that. You're not gonna, you know, you're not gonna hurt your plant really,
right.
Unless you really fuck something up.
Hey man, let me kind of take this a little bit back because this is we just want to kind of meet you a little bit too. So
Okay.
Just curious here, you know, the face covering or whatever. Are you in a red state? I know I did ask before the show. I mean, I'm just doing for the live or whatever, but
no, man. What I've noticed up here is like it's a small community and we haven't really had any problems. I think I've heard of 4 total cases, and to be honest with you, I don't know if they even really have the testing shit to say that's what it was, you know. But it hasn't been. At first, I just went to the store without my mask on the whole time, not too concerned about it. And then they started saying wear a mask, but they don't enforce it. So no, we're lightening up, and I think we're in stage 3 right now of reopening. Everything's pretty much reopened.
No, I was talking about the legal cannabis state or not.
Oh,
Just for
legal.
everybody to know, kind of like what part of the country you come from. Are you from
Oh,
U.S.,
okay.
Canada,
Sorry.
whatever? Yeah, yeah, my bad, man.
I thought you meant like COVID-19.
Yeah,
Oh,
no, because you know some precaution covering your face. Sometimes
oh
that's a red
no,
state kind
no,
of thing, and
no, cool, totally cool, man. I'm a Maine medical marijuana patient. We're all good up here. The law is really cool with us up here. I have had no problems, and I live right in the middle of town.
yeah.
And it's the kind of thing where as long the rule says if it's not visible from the street, or it can't be visible from the street or the sky or something like that without binoculars. So I just keep my shits in a greenhouse out behind my house, and I keep it locked up, and that seems to be good enough. Everybody does it up here. This has always been a huge cannabis community up here.
So what part of Maine then? Are you like way north? Is that what you said?
Way up north. It's called Aroostook County. I'm like in one direction, I'm 15 minutes from Canada, and another direction, I'm about an hour from Canada.
Damn.
So
All right.
yes, so I'm way up. I'm way to fuck up there.
So you must have a heated greenhouse then.
No,
No. All right.
no, fuck no, no. Like I was telling you a little bit before, it's been real cold. We had 3 hard frosts back in the middle of September. We had 3 right in a row, and that's something else that I'm fortunate enough to get to see is like how the plant reacts to really cold weather. And they're amazingly resilient. They're like really tough. I've got some video of last year where I walked into the greenhouse, the thermometer says 12 degrees, and the leaves are still just pointing straight up at the sky in the middle of the night. So it's fucking cold, man.
Yeah, dude. No, shout out too, man, because I was digging through some of your pictures on Instagram, and I don't know. I'll try to get the link up here in a second for his Instagram page. But man, there's some beautiful pictures. Those are absolutely gorgeous plants, and
Thank you.
definitely they look super happy, super healthy. So shout out to that, man. You definitely do nice work.
Thank you. And I think I'm gonna get better. I've been talking with Leighton Morrison a little bit, and I have to admit, like some of what I thought was a certain thing is a little bit different than what I had assumed. But talking with him and explaining to him some of the things that like my ferments and what I noticed a couple of years ago was I started this whole thing by first off was how do I mix my own soil to save myself money, right?
Yeah.
Second was I don't like to contribute to a lot of waste in the world. I'm real big on like what I'm gonna leave behind, my impact on the whole thing, and so I got interested in compost and things like that. So it through all that, and then the whole terpene thing coming out, I wanted to try to research how to manipulate the soil and see if it would adjust the terpene profile of the plant. So I started doing things like taking marigolds or roses and soaking them in water and feeding my plant that to see if I could notice if it had that type of essence when I harvested it, smoked it. And although I didn't like smoke a J and go, shit, that tastes like a marigold, I did notice that from one plant to the other, there was a difference in the amount of terpene that was in the plant. So the same plant had much more flavor same flavor, but just much more of it, you know.
Like
So
a louder, turned it up a little notch.
yeah. So that kind of stuff, as soon as like, you know, I'm one of them people that likes to deconstruct everything. So as soon as that happened, I was hooked, and I just started going crazy with all the stuff that I was like fermenting. Like, oh, I'm gonna throw that away anyway. Let me just throw it in a jar with some water and see if it stinks in a couple weeks. If it doesn't stink, then I'll use it. You know, some of it'll go, some of it will make some stinky ass shit. Spinach, you know, spinach is one where it just like, don't try to ferment spinach. You'll crack that bottle open and it's like releasing the you know, the sewers from hell. It stinks and you don't want to use it, you know. So, but some things really cool.
That's sweet, man. So like Eagle usually starts right back to the first time, man. So let's start there. Let's find out. Did you always grow up in Maine? I mean, is that kind of?
Yeah, I've lived in a lot of places. I've lived in Chicago. I've lived in Connecticut. I've lived in New Hampshire. I've lived in Massachusetts. But any of my growing was done here. When I left Maine for a while, I came back when I was 22, and I had met a girl. She had her own place, and my first grow was just some old dirtweed seed in a closet in a solo cup underneath a living room lamp hanging by its cord in the closet upside down, incandescent bulb, you know, and Miracle-Gro. That's how it all started. It all started from just, you know, like the stupidest shit you could use nowadays.
So how old were you?
I was 22.
22. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, I was 22. Well, going in on, I was 21 going to 22. Like after half a year, I round up. 0.5, I round up. So I was.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
good, man. So that was the
Yeah.
first time you had smoked too, then?
Oh shit, no. The first time I smoked was oh shit. When I actually had went to stay with my father who lived down in Portland, and when he went to work, I snooped around his house and noticed this weird shit underneath his staircase in the basement. And I cracked that bitch open and it was right full of plants. So I was like,
shit! All right.
yeah, I was like, oh man, cool, you know. So I found some stuff that he had and brought that home with me, and me and my buddy smoked it, and it didn't do nothing, you know. Like what I remember about the first time was like searching for the high. You know, like what am I supposed to be feeling here?
Right.
And then buying a couple gibbers pin sticks from some dude at school and putting them in a homemade pipe the next time, and bang, we were off. You know what I mean? We were on the couch laughing, eating bowls of cereal, and
Yeah.
that's you know, it all started laughing, and then just like probably like anybody else, it was like, okay, now I wanna do the things that I normally do, but I want to try them while I'm high, you know. So it just went off, and I became like an eighth a day smoker immediately. And
Really?
oh
Nonstop.
yeah, nonstop, just smoke. And the weird thing about it is nowadays I barely smoke at all, man. I barely smoke lately, like the last 8-9 months especially. I barely touch anything. I'll take a couple puffs and I'll be like, yeah, that's good. I'm satisfied with what I got out of that. My girlfriend smokes 90% of it,
No
you know.
shit.
So, yeah, I have my times where I'll get into it heavy, but at other times I just don't even. I just like my mind goes so fast. I don't even find time in the day to really do it, you know. So, but yeah, that like I've been smoking since I was, I think, 13, 14. So 30
Yeah,
years.
that seems like the real common age right there, man. It's been pretty much everybody right in that range, 13, 14, 15. So I was 15, so yeah, it's cool. It's
Yeah.
cool as fuck. So the first grow, did it pan out for you with the little light and all this?
Hell no.
No,
Hell,
not a chance, right?
hell no. No, 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 it took me a while to like the first couple times I grew, I got through veg. You know, I'm not even sure I knew how to flower at that point. But I met a guy. I played music for a long time. Played guitar, played drums, and there was a guy who had a local guy who had played drums since he was a kid, and everybody knows him pretty well. He's a really talented drummer. And so I ran into him while I was doing maintenance on his apartment, and I was like, "Hey, you know, we ought to hang out or whatever." And he said, "Yeah." And he's like, you know, like, "Hey, man, I got something up in my closet. I know you're the maintenance dude, but I got something up in my closet, and I don't want you to tell on me. I know you're cool and everything, but yeah, man, let me see." So I checked it out, and I was like, "Oh, this is cool." You know, he just had a little simple setup, little 100-watt high pressure sodium, and a little 2x2 square area, and had made himself a little hydroponic thing. And I was like, "This is cool." He gave me some magazines, and I started reading up on it. And next thing I know, he was done with his lamp. I asked to borrow it, and then I just started growing there. And my first successful one was around that time. I think I was probably 24 at that point when I actually got through a flower cycle and had something to show for it, which wasn't that much because it was under 100-watt light. But you
It
know,
was like gold, wasn't it? The first harvest was like gold. It was the best weed ever.
oh, you know it. You know, well, back then it was definitely better than what was around, because everything was either, you know, the smushed up, the really pancaked up shit, or you could once in a while get some like mid-grade commercial or whatever. But and that's what I grew. I remember reading that when a plant starts to really produce seeds, that it doesn't put as much power into flower. So what I looked for was what I would take my seed from was really large buds that had quite a few seeds in them, because to me that was saying, even though it was growing seed, it was still producing a lot of flower. So if I can do this right and not stress it or pollinate it, I'm gonna get some type of yield out of it. So that's where I started. And nowadays I actually want to try to find bags of commercial seed, because it's like you know, they're like unicorns now. You can't really find it anymore. So it's the one thing that's really not being used in breeding right now. And so I look for that, but I can't find the shit anywhere.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you mean by the commercial one. Like, are you talking like the old brick seeds? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, old brick bud. Yeah, old brick
Yeah.
weed, commercial weed. Yeah, just um,
Oh shit! Just get a hold of somebody back in Chicago, man. They got that shit for days. I'm just teasing.
I remember getting $30 halves in Connecticut, and you'd have to smoke like 6 bowls of the shit after you pick, you know, 200 seeds out of an 8.
Yeah, I
Oh, it
remember
was
being mad about that. Like, I remember separating all the seeds out of an eighth one time and like weighing it and being like, "This was a whole fucking gram. It was like 1.2 grams of fucking seeds." I was all mad. That was a third of the weight.
people made millions off people like us doing
Right?
that.
Oh yeah, man. There's a lot of shady shit went down. It was probably cringe thinking of all the stuff we smoked, you know.
Oh God, yeah, man. The some of the lost terpene profiles were probably no more than pesticides or human piss. You know?
I don't remember any terpene profiles from back in the day, other than guys that brought around the quote unquote hydro, you know, and that was usually bright green. It wasn't all smushed. It still had the nug shape, but it was rare to find. And you know,
Yeah.
you had to know somebody because it was illegal as fuck. Nobody talked about shit. You know what I mean? I worked with a guy for 5 years and never knew he smoked weed. Finally,
No
one day he was like, "All right, you seem cool enough, but fucking," but he wasn't gonna say shit, man. So,
Did you guys ever have beasters out there?
yeah, yep, those were kind of around for a little while. Yep.
Oh man, that was like the biggest, like that was a bigger letdown than a gram and a half of seeds for me. Like you look at it and you're like, oh wow, shit, look at that, man. You buy yourself, you get it in your hand, you smell it, it's like hay. You twist it up, it tastes like fucking hay. Shit, the beasters, man. That was like real big around here. People
Right.
were, oh yeah, people were selling that for 280 an ounce.
I'll get people mad at me sometimes if they're talking about old genetics, and that's what I think of with the old lost terpenes. They're like, yeah, well, there's a reason we don't want the hay terpenes anymore. But I'm just teasing. That's
Yeah.
shit, man.
You don't want that, man. Not at all. That's no fun to smoke, man. Nowadays, everything's so nosy and bold, man. Some of the smells that you get are you're just like, fuck, man. You think about back in the day, and you're like, what the fuck is this? How are you know? Like that's what's so awesome about the plant is like it just can present so many different looks, you know, and tastes and smells, and it's just it's really cool. It's fucking amazing stuff, but there's so much of it out there right now. Makes your head spin.
Yeah, especially with a lot of the outdoor stuff coming down this year too. So I was I was surprised actually. I heard that the distillate was less money than like getting just a regular shatter kind of made because supposedly because everybody's having to pull it all the way down to distillate to get rid of like contaminant or whatever. But no, there's like an abundance of it. I was like, what?
Yeah, but what and you're damn you're right on about that. Like that's one of the things that bothers me so much about when you take the time to do it right and you do a full run where your plant's 100% healthy from clone all the way to the day you fucking cut it with no burnt tips, no overfeeding, nothing. That plant has just run a perfect run. That takes fucking skill. That takes time. That takes knowledge. And people do not want to fucking pay for that. At least where I am, there's not enough connoisseurs to say, I appreciate that. And that's what I want to smoke, even if it's $10 more an ounce. You know, they'll shun it away. But these
They're
people,
just bullshitting you, man. They're just trying to hardball you. They want it every time.
yeah, I wish that was the case up here because if I'd be driving a fucking Lamborghini if they would actually take it off my hands. You know what I mean? Instead, I sleep on it like pillows.
Yeah.
But they're blasting moldy fucking neem oil the fuck up during flower. You know, they're blasting it and people are fucking inhaling that shit, dude. And that's not fucking cool. That's like immoral, you know? It's just
Yeah,
wrong. It's wrong.
right, man. So what is your what's your cloning practice then? Since I mean, if you were talking healthy from clone, let's maybe walk through your steps there.
Well, pretty simple. I mean, basically, like I'm assuming like most other people, you know, like I've got two ways that I find successful, and you know, one way is like the norm. Just you know, you soak your peat pod, take your cutting. I either use aloe or rooting hormone. Or sometimes I've used both to see if they worked better together. But just that, the humidity dome and a little, you know, a little I use like a you know, a salt, like a salt nutrient, very diminished, you know, maybe a drop, 2 drops to a half a gallon, little bit of Super Thrive, spray them up, cover them up with the dome and let them go. And the other way that I like to do it sometimes is just with like, you could use a solo cup. Sometimes I use a different container. I used to have these rectangular containers where I'd actually fill the bottom third with my soil, put 2 small clones in there side by side, cover it with plastic and a rubber band, and just let them do their thing in the tent. About how, you know, I had shelves on around the perimeter of my tent back then, and I'd just sit them on the shelf and let them do their thing. And once I noticed new growth on the plant starting inside, usually they grow up and start touching the top, the plastic on the top, I'd take them out, dump them over, and cut down the center of the soil, plug them off to the side. I mean, that was the old way. I don't do that anymore. Now it's just, you know, I stuff them in a peat pod and put them in a cloner, sit them on the shelf. And if, you know, the ones that take well, and if there's some that don't, they don't. But I've tried Rockwell cubes. I've tried, you know, just like the regular peat pods from the store. I've never tried Rapid Root or, you know, or anything like that. I find that that's not really completely necessary. I don't know if it would give me a better result or not. I actually bought my first little packet of Clonex this summer because I wanted to try that, but I don't know if there's even really a need for it. Aloe works so well that you know, if you can go that way and it's super clean and it's all natural, I think that's probably the best way to go. So I tend to try to stick with that, and, you know, take the best clones out of the batch, and anything else just, you know, goes to the wayside. I have a tendency to over clone. Like, you know, I'll be like, oh, I'll take 20 off this plant, and that way, if any of them fuck up, then I won't have to worry. And next thing you know, I've got like 5 phenotypes, you know, 20 clones a piece. And then I'm looking after they're all out of the cloner and they're in little cups and stuff. I'm looking and I'm going, fuck, what am I going to do once they start to gain some size and stuff? I'm going to be fucked here. I'm not going to have room. I'm going to have to kill these fuckers off. So I have a tendency to do a little bit of overkill on that aspect of things, but, you know.
Not bad though. I mean, I like having a little choice too, to where you can pick the, you know, the elites, and then you got a little room for error too sometimes. So and then it's
Yeah,
not
I have a couple
stressful.
Yeah, definitely, because it's never a good thing to have nothing going, you know, or lose it all. Then you're not, you know, it's like it's one of them discouraging things that you don't want to have to go through.
Yeah, no doubt. So when they take root, then what do you transplant them into from there?
Well, when I'm in veg, I like to use just peat moss, vermiculite, and perlite, and then use worm. Well, I'll mix some worm castings in there. I've tried, you know, mushroom compost or cow manure compost as well, but I find that just like like for veg, simple peat, perlite, vermiculite, really airy. You know, not too airy, but really airy. Because the peat holds so much moisture and can really fucking waterlog you down if you don't have enough air in there. But yeah, just that. And then I use fish emulsion, worm castings, and I'll use a sugar source like honey or molasses or brown sugar, and I'll just make my tea up, shake it, let it sit for a day, water, and that's how I veg. And I also use a lot of probiotics too, lactobacillus and stuff like that. For anybody out there who ever has waterlog issues or losing their shit because of anaerobic conditions, Using probiotics and lactobacillus is going to help with preventing anaerobic occurrences in your soil setup. You know, it's gonna help you avoid that shit. So adding that can never hurt for that reason, and it's just another bacterial source that can, you know, consume nutrients, and then the fungus in the soil is going to make it readily available, the bacteria in there and all that. It's going to be so available to your plant. And just, you know, the worm cast and and actually lately, something that I never used that I wish I had incorporated a long time ago that I just started using was kelp. Kelp's awesome. It fucking works so good. Like
powdered kelp or like a liquid?
Well, I just get the down to earth kelp meal, yeah. And I have if I'm gonna foliar spray, I'll stick it in my little bullet. I'll put it in the bullet and I'll powder it up, soak it in some water, and then I'll dump the concentrate into my bottle. But I like to use that and fulvic acid, primarily Golden Goddess from Advanced Nutrients, because that's the only pure fulvic acid that I can find. Like I can see full power and all that on, I've looked at them, but it always says it contains humic acids as well. And I just wanted the fulvic. So I use that, and I use it as a foliar, and it just bombs it out. The iron that's in the fulvic acid and with the kelp and all that, when you foliar feed with that stuff, holy shit, man. As soon as I did it and I went in and I saw my plants, how happy they were, even a couple hours later. Yep. But really the next day I was just kicking myself in the ass going, why didn't I try this sooner? Because it's such a good thing to add with the worm castings and all that. And I really like to use neem cake too. Neem cake is really awesome, especially for building up the fungus in the soil. You put that on top and you water that in, and you'll notice that that fuzz just comes to the surface.
Up on the neem, yeah.
Yeah, they love it. They love it. Neem's excellent for potatoes too. If anybody out there likes to grow potatoes, man, fucking potatoes love that shit. They just go crazy. Yeah, organic potatoes, man. The plants are beautiful, and that's all I feed them is that and just my worm casting, fish emulsion, and sugar deal. Same concept, and
yeah. I just wanted to echo what you said about the fulvic acid there. I just foliar sprayed today with that. So yeah, that's something I practice too. And as far as the pure fulvic acid, the full power is pure fulvic acid. So
is it really?
It's merely a labeling thing why it has to be labeled as a humic acid, and it's something to do with whatever regulation in the US. But Dr. Faust talks about that in some of his discussions. So if you want to actually, anybody out there, if you want to learn about humic, fulvic, and all that, just type in Dr. Robert Faust on YouTube and watch a few of his videos. The guy is probably, I don't know, as far as I know, he's one of the guys that research it the most out of anybody in the agricultural kind of way. So
as far as like a biostimulant.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, he goes way back with it and studying it and all these things, but there's some of his stories out there, but for sure it's something that the plants definitely love. So I love that you shouted that out. That's awesome.
Yeah, once you use it, you'll be like, fucking A, man, where was this before? You know what I mean? Like something that I've been wanting to do and test that I haven't tried yet, but I've always wanted to try it. Since you can't really foliar a flowering plant without getting the bud, sprayed down or whatever, I wanted to actually try leaf dipping, like just going with a bowl, putting it under my leaf and dipping the big fan leaves into it.
Dip a Q-tip and wipe it down each leaf.
Yeah, that would work too. Yeah, that would work too. I've never tried it, so I don't know if it would give any like substantial gains or anything, but I'd like to see if it would, you know what I mean?
Sounds like dedication to me right there.
Yeah.
I guarantee that amount of love put into the flower would help it.
Yeah. Oh, I just learned too that that you can actually foliar spray with K&F. I didn't know that. I've got so much of that stuff laying around and different types of it that, you know,
So
I'm
you've
definitely.
never you do K&F stuff? Is that the ferments and all that you were talking about? And you've
Yeah,
never foliared with them?
no,
Wow.
no.
Mhm.
Years ago, like two and a half years ago, probably. My parents live out in the country, and they have out back of their house is like this kind. They're just up the hill from a lake, and they have what's called an artesian well on their property, and there's tons of springs like in the area, but there's the artesian well, and all the soil that's within, you know, like 50 feet in either direction is really nice looking soil. I mean, it's really nice looking stuff. And when I learned about K&F, or indigenous microorganisms, I said, well, I want to harvest some from there, you know. And then I got to thinking, like, where do I know where there's some good soil? So I got some indigenous microorganisms from that space. And then I went out to my grandmother's house, where out behind their house, there's like 13 acres, but way out back of the house, way in the center of the woods, there was this old apple tree that when I was just a kid, this apple tree, you know, was like, I don't know, really big. We used to climb out on the branches to pick apples. I mean, if that gives you any idea how large the apple tree was. But my grandfather always said that thing's been here 100 years, you know. And so I thought to myself, well, I definitely want to go get some organisms from underneath that tree as well. So I went out there, and I I got some from there. I got some from by the well. And then when I moved here to the location I'm at now, I was cleaning up the backyard, doing some raking and stuff, and I raked some material off near the tree line, and it was just loaded with what I know now as saprophytic fungus was all through it. And I'm looking at it going, holy shit, look at the mycorrhizal web. Look, you know, I'm not realizing that, you know, I can't see that because I just didn't know it at the time. But so it had this saprophytic fungus growing, I mean, just like crazy. And there was mushrooms growing and all that. So I took some from there too. And then mix that in with some of my soil. But what I also did was I put this into my compost pile. So now anytime that I go to my compost pile, it's always going to have microorganisms from all three plots in there. And I use that to make my teas and stuff, and you know, inoculate the soil, my super soils and all that stuff. So, but I kind of do a little bit different type of, like, I mix so much stuff together that it's not just super soil anymore. You know what I mean? It's a living, it's definitely a living thing on a different level than just a super soil level.
So,
So
well, do you care to share how you do the mix and what stages you take? Or, I mean,
yeah,
I only say this, Ghost, because there's a lot of people listening, man. I mean, that would love to do, you know, either are doing a super soil and would love to maybe try a little tweak to it. So maybe there's something they'll hear that they're like, you know what, that's a fuck great idea. So if you're willing to share,
yeah,
man.
yeah. Well, it all, like I said, I'm a deconstructor. So anytime I see something, I want to break it down to its simplest form, and then and then rebuild it so I understand how everything stacks up. And the whole super soil, living soil, permaculture, compost, carbon to nitrogen ratio thing got me going. And I was like, well, fuck, I can put the super soil in there, but what am I really providing here other than just a mixed bag of nutrients and media? It's alive, but it's not as alive as it could be. So what could I do to aid in this process? What could I add that's not going to burn my fucking plants up, but's going to benefit my soil in the long run? Because I want to reuse it. I don't want to throw my shit away. It doesn't make any sense to me to do that. So I watched Elaine Ingram and her composting, and I said, well, okay, well, what if I can do that in a small amount on my topsoil, which is like, okay, here, let me put it like this. I was talking to Leighton and I said it like this. Okay, if you could go out in the woods anywhere in the world and you could find wild growing cannabis, right? Just something that's growing wild, and you could pick the location. Where do you think the best fucking herb would be grown? Would it be under a coconut tree, in a coconut forest? Would it be in a pineapple forest? Would it be in a redwood forest? Would it be in a orange grove, a grape grove? Like, where would it be if you could pick something? Like, has this thing lived off fruit, decomposing fruit its whole life and been regrowing there for 100 years? So I thought of it like that. And so I have like this year I had 10 pots, and I don't do the same thing in each pot. I'll do something different in a few of them. I'll go with the old, the old fail safes in a few of them, so I know I'm getting, what I need out of some of them. And then I can test some things on the other one, and I find that you can add quite a bit because in the plant's not going to like Josh, what's his name, Josh Steensland.
Yeah.
Okay, he says a plant don't eat kelp. It don't eat glacial rock dust and green sand. It just doesn't consume it. Right. So you can add these things to the soil, and the microbes and the fungus are going to break that shit down, and the plant's going to take what it needs when it needs it. And as long as you have the right network in there, you're not going to really have an opportunity to go wrong with it. So I add the things that I think would be really cool to find a pot plant growing in out in nature. And with Elaine Ingram and stuff, she talks about, where do the nutrients come from and stuff. Well, they come from rocks. A lot of it comes from rocks, and in the vegetation that falls every year, like a tree. It's perfectly built by God. The leaves fall to the ground, and that's the amount of nutrients that tree needs for the next year. And it grows up, and it grows more shoots, which grow more leaves, which feeds the bigger tree the next year, and it just goes on and on. So I go down and I like granite stone, which I've harvested from just like rock piles, and I've also harvested from the river up here. We have a big river, and what I notice about the granite from the river is it's like you can crush it with your hand. It's just, it's just been broken down and stuff. So and it has a certain amount of electric conductivity to it, granite, silica, quartz, things like that. So I just go through the rainbow: green rock, red rock, black rock, white rock, and sparkly rock and dull rock, and I smash them up into good sized chunks, and I mix that in with my soil as well. And And then I always have something covering the top.
So is that like aeration portion of the soil to you? Is that kind of how you look at that?
Well, I look at it like that because yes, it does do that. And I think that that's a good way to add aeration to your soil, and not have to really fear about a huge amount of compaction over 1 or 2 cycles. You know what I mean? It's because it's going to take a while for that to break down. And you can add bigger chunks if you want to kind of make it last longer. But it's also like there's a certain amount of the EC that affects that goes with the rock and whatnot, and also the mineral content of it, the silica in the quartz and whatnot. So, I look at it like just like nature, what's in the ground, because you're not going to go dig a hole out somewhere and find peat moss, perlite, and vermiculite in the middle of the woods. You know what I mean? So
No, that's true.
So it's just like it's as close to God as you can get, kind of thing. Like it's creating earth, which is what we're made of. You know what I mean? So I want earth. I don't want just soil. I want earth, and then I want to manipulate that and help the plant with any advantage that I can. I think that's the part that I think that's what we're here for. You know what I mean? Because we're the conscious being on this planet. We're the ones who can fucking think. We're the ones who can say, well, look, whoa, holy fuck, trial and error, and this works and this doesn't.
Yeah.
So we can help it along. You know what I mean? And just make good things even better, instead of making good things worse. So that's kind of how I look at it. So I really go for the gusto, and I add whatever I want to. Like last year, at the end of the season, a week before I clipped my plants, I went out and I had one plant that I tested macerated oranges on, mandarin oranges and blood oranges, and I macerated them, peels and everything. Okay. And went out, and instead of mixing it into water or whatever, I just dumped it around the perimeter of the 30-gallon pot. And I'll be damned if I didn't personally feel like that plant had more of a citrus smell than the sister plant next to it. A week after I had done it, and that stayed in the soil. You know what I mean? Broke down over the winter time, and that was in my soil again this year. And I did it with my biggest Jesus OG plant this year. I did the same thing with mandarin oranges, just dumped them to the top of it. And you're not mixing it in, it's not getting down into the root zone. What you're getting is like it's on the top. It's then you water over it. It's just like rain would do in a tropical, if you had your plant growing in an orange forest, the oranges are going to fall, they're going to break, so that's kind of what I think of it as. Like if I was out and I was Christopher Columbus exploring the new world, and I was, going to come across a cannabis plant, where would I hope to find that bitch, and so I kind of try to gear my soil towards that. I think that there's really no limit to it. There's really no limit to it. And I think that we're going to find a lot of interesting things out about the soil over probably the next, it's probably going to be way past my generation. But we don't know very much about it as it is, from what I understand. We're getting there. There's a lot of research being done, and a lot of smart people out there looking at it. So yeah, just
What's the best one that you've found so far as kind of mixing it up like that? I mean,
well, I find that calcium is the main thing. Like if you're going to count it as ppm kind of scenario, which I don't, but when I look at it like parts, per gallon, maybe, not parts per million, because I'm mixing a substrate, I'm mixing a soil. So I look at it like that, like how much of this gallon do I want to be calcium? How much do I want to be nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, magnesium? So in the calcium's like really the big thing from what I understand. A lot of stuff going on in other countries, research and stuff about powdery mildew is something that a lot of people I see have an issue with, and molds and things like that. And from what I understand, and I can say honestly that I don't lose to powdery mildew, and I don't lose to bud rot. I don't lose to anything when it comes to that. And I think it's because of upping the calcium, making them cell walls so tight that they say, you know, the mold can't penetrate into the leaf and spread out through it. So you're not going to have crop loss off that. And if you don't have the calcium in there anyways, you're not going to have as strong of a plant as you need to begin with. So calcium, just a good calcium and magnesium rich super soil, you know, that's been that those things have been allowed to break down in there. I don't know, you know, I don't know how politically correct all this is, but they say like a lot of people use lime and you know, a lot of lime to buffer their soil and keep the pH set. But with bacterial soil, the pH can be a little higher than 7 anyway, and you're not going to really see too much of an effect from it. But I don't like it to even, like, anytime I've ever added lime to like the top of my soil or anything, I get burning immediately. I notice burnt tips and shit like that. And I don't like that. That tells me that there's something wrong. And I don't know how many of you out there ever grow your plants and you miniaturize the motherfucker because you've added too much ppm or you've added too much, your pH is too high, and your plant will actually miniaturize. You'll have little tiny fan leaves and stuff. And, you know, I've been there, I've done it, I've tried it. So, you know, and it fucks your shit up. And then you got to wait for it to grow back out because those leaves just aren't going to get any bigger at that point. So, but I don't like the lime. I like to go with something that has a little sulfur in it, a little bit more acidic. And towards the end, that helps ripen anyway, from what I understand. I do add some lime because the amount of the sulfur and stuff that I like to add, I think goes a little bit lower than ideal. So I add the lime because of the calcium and to kind of buffer it up. And then after just a good super soil with magnesium, calcium, and your good inputs, and you make sure that it becomes fungally dominated, you know, you get the fuzz on the top and you mix it up well, and you've got it to where you want it. After that, it's maintenance inputs, you know, for me anyway, using the KNF, or and I like to top with some neem cake. And whenever I mix a tea, it'll have worm castings in it, it'll have the compost in it, it'll have the wood chips in it with the fungus on it, it'll have, you know, all that stuff in it. And I just, in the kelp, and I just, in humic acids, and I just dump that on the topsoil too. I don't take the bag and throw it. You know, I just put it on the topsoil and I let it break down too. And sugars, and something to feed them, some carbohydrates, some oatmeal, powdered oatmeal on top sometimes, brown rice. Although the brown rice, I notice, sometimes has a tendency to mold the wrong way. Sometimes it can throw you a green mold or, you know, something like that. But I haven't noticed that with the oats and the neem. So it's
is there certain times in the stage of growth that you kind of suggest adding or find that are best to add those?
You know, I guess I don't really time anything. I'm a feeling kind of person. Like I look at my plants and see where they're at. And again, I don't think that you can really go wrong if it's on the top. So because there's a minimal amount that's going to get down into the soil each time you water, and that fungus comes up and it touches with that. And if it's communicating with the roots correctly, then it's only going to draw what it needs. It's not really gonna, you're not gonna burn it up unless you really fuck with the root zone. So I just, I really don't time it, but I
It's
do
a
think
deal.
that, what's that? Yeah,
It's a deal kind of thing.
yeah, but if you're gonna add neem cake, why not add it right when you do your transplant into the big pot? Because that way you're going to help with the bugs as well. So, it's only going to help prevent a certain amount of pests, although it's not going to prevent them all. It does have an effect, and it can help keep
That's
them away.
interesting that you brought that up, because that's definitely something I've noticed in cases where I've heard people talk about ants. I had ants getting into my soil pots too, and they
Mhm.
were they were stealing barley and whatever was in there. I threw some neem cake down, and they did not want nothing to do with that shit, man.
No,
So
they sure don't. They hate mint too. They hate like like any mint. Like I had some mint plants that I used on one pot, crushed it all up when it was really dry, sprinkled that around the border of the cloth pot, and nothing wanted to come near that, until after that was all broken down. That the mint seems to work for the soil like it does for people. It just wards off
that,
illness and wards off. I think there's quite a link between what works for us and what works for the plant, but you just got to look at it like um, the body of the plant is the body of the plant, and the soil is like the stomach. So you got to feed it. That's what I noticed with the probiotic systems too. Is it's like you've got yourself a big stomach there, and you fill it with probiotics, and it'll digest just about anything. It seems to work very well too. So
so
probiotic.
do you run a lot of the earth boxes still, or is that
Well, at the moment, I'm not running a lot of them, but I usually keep one going. But because it's for me, I'm a cheap bastard, so it's like I when I come across the material to make them, I do. But for the last couple of years, I've been focusing on outdoor
okay?
growing. I keep my lineage alive inside over the winter. I haven't flowered anything inside in 4 years.
Well,
Well, no, that's not true. That's not true. I did flower my Gorilla Glue 4 cross with Purple Trainwreck inside to see if it was a female the first time, but since then I haven't flowered anything. The only reason I knew my Jesus OG was female was because for some reason it pre-flowered inside, and it does, the clones do it too. It seems like if they're not getting enough light, if they're not getting enough nitrogen, the plant seems to want to pre-flower, and it did it with the male and the female. So I'm not quite sure exactly what I've got with the Jesus OG. I was like super excited to get it because someone that grew some a while back had it, and I fucking loved it. I was like, man, this stuff is just the bomb. It's fucking awesome. And I
what
always
did you
wanted
love
it.
about it? Just curious on the smoke.
Well, I love the terpene profile of it was the main thing. It was really pretty plant, on top of that, but just it had that, I'm not the best with like, was this an OG smell, or was this a kush smell? Alls I know is it had this, well, I guess like Bubba Kush, kind of like I've smelled some good Bubba Kush before, and it kind of had a hint of that in it. What he was growing had
Okay.
a hint of that. But what I like the best is, like, I like weed that makes me want to do something. I
Okay.
don't like couch lock shit. And so it kind of had that effect. And then the fact that it was one of Subcool's strains, had a lot to do with it too. So when he started his new seed thing, and this was actually just before he passed, I had bought a couple packs from him and got that. And I got out of the 5 seeds, I got 2 females. One I didn't care for. It was very finicky, so I got rid of it. The other one was the one that pre-flowered after a while, but it didn't. Once I put it outside, it just went right straight back into veg. So I think it's more inclined to outdoor. But I got a male as well out of it, which I collected the pollen from. But my Jesus OG doesn't smell like his did. It doesn't have that smell. It had like a lemon, a really strong lemony smell at about 5-6 weeks, and then it just started to fade off as it went towards the end of it. And it's really good smoke. I've smoked some of it the last couple days, took in a puff or 2 here off of Jay, and I like what it does for me. It doesn't put me on the couch, but it's just not the terp profile I wanted. And so I've got 5 more seeds of it that I'm gonna start, and I've got some jinx proof stuff that has Jesus OG in the lineage. So I'm hoping I can kind of narrow down, that smell and that flavor that I want. I'm not big on buying seeds. Most of what I grow is bag seed. Actually, everything except for the Jesus OG is just bag seed.
Bag seed from who?
Just like, well, actually, my little brother.
Oh,
My little brother.
Bags from somebody else that grew or whatever.
Yeah. Someone who goes to one of the dispensaries, I think, up here, and was an herb, and my brother would come across a seed or 2, and he always saves them for me. And he's the one who gave me my my Clyde's Kush, which he was calling at the time. He was calling it Christmas tree Kush, and I researched it, and I couldn't find that anywhere. Like, that wasn't a legitimate strain at the time. And it just so happened that my coon cat would go into the greenhouse, go into the grow room, and he'd fucking trash my shit. He'd pull those specific plants over and leave the rest of them, and he'd chew the leaves right off of them. So I was like, man, I don't know what it is about this specific plant that he likes, but I had 2 seeds of it, and even through veg, they looked identical. I mean, they grew the same speed. They looked identical through flower. They looked identical. They smelled identical. And then when I harvested them, one just tasted a little bit different than the other, but they were so close that I knew I had something quite solid. And then I lost one of the phenotypes, but I still have the other one, and I've been growing that for 5 years straight. And that's the real producer that I've found. And some people say it smells like cheese, but it's got something else under there, if it was cheese or cheesecake, it'd be like grapefruit cheesecake. It's got that really weird grapefruit smell to it. So, but yeah, everything's bag seed except for that. And then I got some stuff from Jinx Proof, and I've got these Jesus OGs that I got from Subcool. And I try to stick with the guys that, I know that they've bred quite a bit, and it's a strain that's been around for a little while, because, I see a lot of people saying the name says genetics or whatever, or farms, and they've got a 4x4 grow tent. And that, not that doesn't mean they can't breed some great shit, because sometimes you just you hit a home run. But that's just not something I'm willing to spend $10 a bean on. When I see that, I'm leery about it, so.
Can't say I blame you, man. I mean, spending your money, you did get a little leery about what you're doing. So
time too, you know, there's a lot of time in that. And so
That's the big truth right there. Just to be running out any seed does take a lot of time, and it's something that I've thought a lot about. Like you want to get a little choosy too, you know, about what you're gonna pop and how much time it's gonna take, and
fuck yeah.
uh, that's cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So what? I mean, I guess we didn't get much into flour there. I mean, we were talking about the veg when you said you started using some KNF type inputs.
Yeah. Yeah, for veg, I like to do that, and just the real basic setup for veg. Of course, that's vegging prior to putting them in the pots with the super soil. If I'm talking outdoor here, you know, if
Yeah.
I'm talking about indoor using super soil, you really don't have too much of a veg time overlap when you put it into the pot. I would go like a week or two in that pot just to get the root zone up to size before I started flowering. But when it's outside, it goes in the pot in June, and that's where it stays. So it veges off the super soil and it flowers off that same super soil that's in the, you know, in the pot. So that's why the inputs at the end come into it. But I don't feed any form of phosphorus during my flower, like that's in the super soil. The only thing that I've been feeding is the macerated cantaloupe and my compost tea. It'll be that and you know, the potassium punch, which when I use it, I don't like, I like to add quite a bit of it because, well, I think that you need it, especially if you have an 8-foot plant with a, you know, that's 6 feet across and has like 20 or 30 tops on it. You can't go with a cap full of fermented cantaloupe and brown sugar and expect to get the mass that you want out of it and the production that you want. So I use it before it ferments. I let it break down, pull all the nutrients, the brown sugar, pull the nutrients out of it. And after it's set for a while, then I mix that in with my compost tea and I feed it that way, just with worm castings, maybe some kelp and the fulvic acid or humic acids in there too. But, you know, just really, really simple. Add the life to it. Make sure it's going to consume everything that's in there already available for it. And you know, the stuff that ends up on the top. And that's about it. Next year, I'm going to change it up a little bit, and I'm going to try something a little bit different, and mix kind of like you've heard of Back to Eden.
Yeah, yeah. Like the wood chip style where you're putting wood chips down or whatever.
Right. As a you know, is a holds the moisture in carbon, but I also notice that the fungus just loves it. And there's a lot of, like, I've had we have some a company that goes around up here and they trim all the trees off around power lines and stuff. And I knew the guy that did it, and I had him drop me off a whole truck full of the ground up wood chips from the conifer trees and the birch trees. And I think there's probably a lot of popple in there too. But mostly it's a lot. We have a lot of conifer trees up here. So it was a lot of that. And I had this huge fucking pile of wood chips that I put out back, and I've been letting that break down over the last, well, I used it last year and I used it this year. And what I do is I'll go out to that pile and I'll dump water with labs in it, and I'll put the oat flour to it, the rice flour to it. I'll put fruit in it, you know, vegetables, potato peels, sweet potato peels. The fungus seems to love shit like that. and it just goes crazy and it disappears, you know, within a week or two, it's gone out of there. So it's mostly that. And I'm going to try a good layer of that on top of my soil. See if that does anything different.
I like it, man. It's an interesting concept too. When they shred those, you get the wood and the leaf matter from, you know what I mean? Like the green and the brown, so to speak, for the composting there. So that's yeah, that pile probably started heating up pretty good on its own just when they
Oh,
dumped
you know,
it.
yeah, you know it did, man. It was like
Yeah.
step out front and hear big, you know, steam just pouring out of it. You know what I mean? I was like, wow, you know, you go to mix it and the center of it would just be so hot, man. I was amazed by it. It blew me away. And I even tried, I saw something on YouTube where they went to the end of a greenhouse and they built a box. They filled it right up with leaves. I'd use the wood chips, but and they cut a hole in the side of their greenhouse towards the bottom of the compost pile that was on the outside, and the heat, it was pushing out they were measuring 90 something degrees coming out of that hole
Shit.
into the greenhouse, you know. And I was like, oh wow, man, I'm gonna try this. So I spent like a day building a box at the end, and then wheelbarrowing load after load after load of wood chips over there. Cut the side of the thing out, didn't do a fucking thing.
No.
Didn't
Damn
do
it.
nothing. I think I was too late or something. Maybe I should have mixed some green in there with it, but it
Yeah.
didn't do nothing. I just wasted a whole day. But I mean, that's what happens when you know, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose when you want to test a million different things.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, I've
Yeah,
seen that before though, where they heat greenhouses with a compost. That's pretty cool concept. I would
yeah, it's all.
imagine you're right though, if you would have had some nitrogen or some kind of you know, something to get them going, so to speak, because it's the biology that's really doing the heat, you know. Like,
Yeah, you were talking about something like that last night with the CO2, with the soil pushing off CO2, causing humidity, and you said you thought like you saw just a couple points different, and the soil, you know, breaking down and pushing off that CO2. So that's one thing that I'm curious about with the back to Eden, and it's something I've done the last 2 years, is just towards the end of the season when it starts to get really cold, adding a lot of organic matter. Well, a lot of microbes, let me put it that way, a lot more microbes, and in my compost tea, a lot more worm castings and stuff.
okay.
Putting that in the soil, and then wrapping my cloth pots with heavy black plastic at night to try and keep the heat in the root zone, you know, to keep them working and stuff. So, but I'm really curious. Next year I'm going to expand the greenhouse, but one thing I want to do is have all around the pots be sort of like not a compost pile, but stuff that's breaking down and hopefully pushing off some heat that'll help me push a little bit further into the cold season, which right now I'm way further into it than I've ever gone before. I'm a full 2 weeks past where I did last year, and the plants are still alive out there.
Yeah.
You know, but it's cold. A lot of them were just like, I went out this morning, and they were like, some of them you could tell they were frozen. So I took all that off, and one of them looked like, I was like, holy fuck, that fucker's dead. Like I have a Clyde's Kush out there that I planted really late to see if I could get it to finish during the cold time. And it was just like hung all over itself, you know, and it looked like it was toast. But I went back out 5 hours later and the leaves were right back up. It's like, man, what the hell is going on? And my dehumidifier, the intake was just a big sheet of ice. It looked like the inside of an ice box. It's just all ice. I'm like, man, how is this plant still alive? You know, but they're pretty tough. They're pretty fucking tough. And I want to see if that, but I want to see if that will throw enough heat to kind of make a difference in that. I'm all about trying something that I haven't tried yet because it gets stale. It
No,
gets,
that's true, man. It's interesting always trying to see something little tweak or something different. I like it.
yeah, you never know what you're gonna, end up figuring out or finding or getting as a result. But I think there's a certain level you can get to, and then there's really just not much more that it's that it's gonna do. One thing, the cold thing really fascinates me though, because what I noticed was in the 2 weeks difference was the trichome started pushing out the fan leaves. They started going out the stem of the fan leaf and going out across the bottom of the fan, you know, the bottom leaves of the fan leaves, and the stalk is even fucking sticky as shit, you know, after it's been out in the cold. So I think as a natural defense mechanism, it's really building a lot more trichomes the colder it gets. But you walk a fine line with, like, you know, are you going to kill your shit or, you know?
No. Well, that's an interesting point, or something that you've noticed, because yeah, I would imagine it's trying to put a layer of kind of fat or oil to hold its heat in as best it can. So
Yeah, it's super. It's just and I don't know, because I don't have, like, I can't go to another grower and go, let me see your stuff, because I want to see how it compares to the level of stickiness that I'm getting, because it's just ridiculously sticky. Like, it's fucking stupid sticky. I'll take 0.5 out and I can't even cut up half a joint with the scissors before I have to clean them off, because when I close them, they stick together, you know, and you take a couple snips, and then after the 3 or 4 snips, it's like pop, pop,
right?
pop, pop, and then they stick right together. And I'm like, fucking, you know, it's almost annoying, but it's cool at the same time, because I'm like, I've never seen stuff this sticky in it, and it's not just on one plant. So I know it's not the phenotype or the strain. I know it's something happening with either the weather or the soil, the inputs or whatever.
Yeah.
Narrowing that down is kind of difficult, but
Well, it sounds like you've been the victim of some extraordinary success there, man.
just the last 2 years, though. Just like the last 2 years, this is my 3rd season growing in the greenhouse, and my 1st season, I wasn't happy with it. Like, I did 15-gallon cloth pots, and then I did some 15-gallon plastic containers, and I also did a 7-gallon probiotic container.
Okay.
To kind of see if there'd be a difference. And what I notice about the only thing that I don't like about the growing in an earth box type thing or whatever is the limited space. Like, you have to have a really big fucking container, and that's kind of difficult with that system. But I think if you could run a 30-gallon probiotic system outside, I think the sky's the limit with that. Like, there's just such a vast difference between what I like. This year I moved up to a 10-gallon probiotic container for my probiotic test plant outside to see how it would fare against the other ones.
Yeah.
And the difference that you get from a 15-gallon pot or a 10-gallon pot to a 30-gallon pot it's just, there's no, like, you can't even compare them. Even if you say, well, it's half the soil, so it should be half the plant. No, it's not half. It's not even half the fucking plant. You know, like a third, I don't know, with the 30, and it makes such a larger plant, than so much larger. I mean, it's 3 times the size, not just double the size of a 15. It's at least 3 times.
So you're going 300 next year?
Oh, dude, I would love to. I would love to. I would love to. I wanted to go 50s this year, but I couldn't find, like, it was hard to find them online at the time. And so what I did was I went to, we have this wholesale store up here, and I went in and I was like, do you have any polypropylene or felt or whatever? And I bought yards and yards of it, and some thick thread, and I've got enough to make myself some really nice square, like I want some square rectangular cloth pots, so that I can, you know, like put a loop on the side and drive some posts into the corners and kind of have my cage built already around it, you know, in a good section that way. But yeah, I want to see, you know, I'm not sure how big of a container I can build, but I would love to, like, I see the Mendo boys, and I see these Cali growers, and I just get green with envy. I'm like, you know, like, the plants are so enormous, man, like,
It's so cool.
and they're beautiful. I mean, they're just so beautiful, you know,
I love
like,
the
but
drone shots when you can see the scope of the field they're working on, and it's just like plant after plant as far as you can see. So cool.
it's wild, dude. It's like a dream come true for, like, a hardcore grower, you know, like someone who really, like, wants to test their shit and test their limits with it. I mean, they really push it. They push it to the max, big time. Those, and it's not just them. Like, you see them because they're out in the forefront and they're exposed to a lot of people. But then there's dudes like, oh, what's his name? He does, I think he's the Humboldt Seed Company. I watch a lot of Soil King and the Life of. I love the Soil King, so I watch a lot of that. But he goes
What's
and
that? Sorry, go Nat. Is that who you're talking about?
He's a breeder. He, like, does a lot of seeds. He's a tall guy with long hair, thin dude.
Oh, okay, that's a different one, yeah.
And but he goes out there, and I mean, that's another guy that's out there that's just growing these enormous plants. But even Patrick grows enormous plants, and, like, all these guys in California, that's how they do it. You know what I mean? They do the 2 to 4 to 4 to 8, the 8 to 16, the 16 to 32 tops, and they just have it. They've got so much experience, and they've done it so many times that they can really, like, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if these guys knew how many fucking nodes were on each plant, you know, how many bud sites were on them. They've just got it down so well, and blows my mind. You know, I see it and I'm just like, fucking, hey, dude, I would love to live out there if it wasn't for the fires and the, you know, all that stuff. I would love to go out there and try my hand at growing out there and see what I do, how that would fare out there in that situation. See if I could grow plants like that using the type of systems that I use, you know. But yeah, it's 1,000-gallon pot would be awesome. But
Right.
I don't know if my back could handle it, or if I'd feel like shoveling all that dirt, man. That's a lot of work. Even a 30-gallon pot, you're like, all right, I'm sick of filling these things. I'm so sick of filling these things. How much more is this going to take, you know? Like, because if you're doing it with a shovel and you're doing it with manpower, it's a lot of work. Doing this, people act like it's not a lot of work.
No, you
You know,
stay in shape, that's for sure.
yeah, they're like, oh, what, you want $30 an eighth for that? Man, you just grew it. I just grew it.
Right.
You know, I mixed the soil, I shoveled it, I turned it, I cooked it, I waited, and then I cured it because
Yeah.
I wanted to get the most out of my product. And that's something else that I don't know if you guys run into it out there, but people don't care if your weed's cured, if their weed's cured anymore, and not around here anyway.
No,
Two
not
weeks.
as much on the cured side. If it smokes, it's gone. It can go out the door if it's dry enough to smoke. But yeah, it's there's a few people that I don't know. They like it if it's cured because I'll cure some like for head stash and then smoke that with them, and they really like it. But it's not something like if I were to sell them a bag right away, and then I cured the same weed 2 months later, they wouldn't necessarily realize that that was the difference. You know what I mean? So
Right,
I'm sure
right.
that they're like, oh, this wasn't cured. Next time I give them a bag or whatever. So
Yeah, I've got stuff that was like, well, when I did some reading and read that at like 6 months cure, THCA actually turns psychoactive. I think that's the number, 6 months. That that to me is like, well, if you want to see exactly how potent what you grew can be and how psychoactive it can be, you're gonna have to wait that time. And then what I noticed was as time goes on, more and more chlorophyll dissipates from it and it changes color. So it turns brown. You know, if it's cured a long time and the chlorophyll's all gone, the weed's brown. So they look at it and they're like, get the fuck out of here. You know, that's brown, you know, but yeah, so if
I think the cultural shift though, because there is still that alarming, at least around me, there is too, because well, maybe it's my circle, but the people I know are like, you remember the brown weed days. So like nobody wants fucking brown weed, you know? So even though I think once the market kind of matures or the more and more people kind of realize, you know, but yeah, sorry.
yeah, yeah, it would have to be, it would have to be something that was, well, it would be hard to do because like you were saying, you'd have to give them something at the beginning and then you'd have to give them something that was cured a long time. And there's going to be a long time in between those two, you know, sessions. They're never going to remember.
No.
You know, they're probably not going to be able to go, wow, this is so much better this time around. It's, you know, at least if you want to get rid of it, if you want to get rid of it and you want to be consistent with it and you want to make money giving it to a dispensary and you want to go into that side of it, hydroponic is the way to do it if you want to really make money and you can't worry about your own personal taste on it, you know, other than to just know this is good, you know, this is something good. But
So
they,
why do you say that though? I guess I find that interesting that you kind of
well, at least from, you know, up here, what I find is like, again, it's a small spot, it's a small place. There's not a lot of people. There's not a lot of money. So first off, if you need to charge more because it took you more time and you feel you've got a better product, which to me, it's like THC is like I told, like growing a plant to me is like building a race car. And THC, you know, it's kind of like if you compare it to gas, which everybody loves to call it gas, well, THC would be octane. And if my shit's got more octane, my shit's worth more money. You know, to me, it gets you higher, it's better, it's worth more money. But up here, they don't give a fuck. And I'm a big advocate for outdoor. Like I always felt like my outdoor far supersedes my indoor. Um, it's just, I find it better. And a lot of people disagree with that. And that's, everybody's got their own opinion on what's good and what's not. I personally think that the reason people want everybody to feel like indoors better is because it costs electricity and it costs all that stuff to grow it. Well, you have to make up for that. You know what I mean? If you're gonna get rid of it, you have to you can't just do it for free or do it for a loss. So, you know, you have to take that into consideration. But that doesn't make it better. But up here, I even should, they'll be like, no, I don't generally buy outdoor, dude. Like,
Yeah, it's in a greenhouse, so
right. Well, they don't know, you know what I mean? They don't, anybody that I've run into for the most part doesn't understand the difference. And me and my boy, we argue this all the time. And I'm like, dude, it's organic, it's clean, it's not bad for you. They don't care, man. They don't fucking care. And they just don't. Unless it's probably, someone who's sick and needs it for a medicine, then they might care. But for the most part, like in the climate I'm in, as far as what goes, what can make money and whatever, if I wanted to get into that side of it, I would have to go organic, or not organic, sorry. I would have to go hydro. I would have to get 5 cycles a year, and I would have to use salts to do it because it's
yeah,
cheaper, it's quicker. But to me, that's poison in the earth. That's poison in people. It's not good. It's not good for you. It's not good for us to do it. I mean, if anybody knows about like what goes on in the middle of the country where they grow a lot of corn, and if you pay attention to what's happening, all the runoff goes down to the Gulf of Mexico, and it kills off a lot of stuff, pollutes the water. We've already got a lot of pollutants and stuff. I mean, what are we leaving our children with? In the next 100 years, my great grandkids and shit. I mean, I think Native Americans had it right when they said, before you do something, you need to think 7 generations ahead
I've
to
not
see
heard
what,
that before, but that's interesting.
it's like people are a lot different now than they were, and it's a lot of it's about like sleight of hand kind of society. Like, what can we make them think is true, make them feel that they have to do? Like with farming, a lot of like we've got a lot of potato farming up here, and I bet you I'd get in a fist fight if I tried telling a potato farmer he needed to use a cover crop and put some organic matter back into his soil, and he'd have better potatoes. And a year's time or whatever, he would be like, you can't do that. You need the byproduct of atomic weapons, and you need things like that. I don't know if people realize that that's what that, what a lot of phosphorus, I believe, and our chemical fertilizers and stuff are, is just, Oklahoma City is a, there's your nitrogen source right there,
Yeah, that
you
was
know.
a wake up to that big time.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where I like the reason I grow like I do and everything is because, to me, it's the morality of it. Everything I do is about morality. Like, my moral compass, is this honest? Is this something I would want someone to do to me? And because I used to be a real fucking prick. I've done a lot of bad shit in my time, and I used to pick on kids in school and fucking make fun of people and stuff. And
I still make fun of people.
well, yeah, but it's cool when you can, like I always say, that if you can laugh at you can't laugh at someone else if you can't laugh at yourself. Like, and if you can't laugh at yourself, then it makes it hard for other people to laugh with you.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like the way that you interact with Eagle, it's funny. You guys can jab at each other, and that's cool. It's you know, that's how me and my friends are, like, you know, like, fuck you, dick.
Right.
You know, and that stuff's funny to us, you know, but some people take that shit personally, you
Yeah.
know. And I used to actually like make fun of people for reasons that I shouldn't have made fun of them for, like going through school and stuff like that. And it was all because I like to laugh, and I never really intended to hurt their feelings, but I think it did, you know what I mean? And then as time went on, you know, I realized, like, you know, it sucks when someone does that shit to me. So what fucking right do I have to do that to someone else? I don't want to ever make someone feel a way that I don't want to personally feel. So I've evolved in that. I've gone through a lot as far as my life is concerned, like where I started, what I witnessed, and what I became because of what I went through and what I witnessed, and then what I became after reflecting on all of that is has been massively different. My best friend of 30 years is the only Black kid in our area. He was the only Black student in our school, and we became friends, good friends, and we were the only ones who listened to hip hop music. We were the first ones to start wearing baggy pants, sagging our pants, and he got treated so badly, like so badly. Called the N-word by 80% of the school, and then I was a victim of it too. Like, I was a, you know, N-word
You're the
wanted.
wannabe, right?
Exactly. You're with me. So, you know, and witness that. My first day of high school, I got lifted off the ground by my throat by this like 6'5", 300-pound senior farmer because I got into ag science, right? And he was being a jerk to me because of how I wore my hat and my clothes. He's like, pick your hat up, do this and do that. And man, I'm not one to fold for something like that. I just, you know, so I was like, you know, fuck you. I'm not bagging shit. Bag that, he said. And I said, fuck you, man. He picked me up right by the throat, picked me right up off the ground, called me the N-word and all that stuff. And, you know, so I witnessed that, and I went through that through high school, and you know, things are a lot different now. And I can honestly say that me and him kind of paved the way for that to be acceptable up here. We took the brunt of it. We took the hits for that. And it was a horrible thing to witness. You know what I mean? To see your friend, like, he would beat your ass. You know what I mean? It was just, they'd say it to him and he'd slap the fuck out of him. But to me, I was looking at it like, Jesus, that's gotta fucking really make you feel singled out, you know? So that was another thing that led to me saying, I just can't be that way to someone. I don't want to be singled out. I won't single them out anymore. And you know, that was one of the things that really shaped me. And then I got really sick when I was 26 years old. I've always had migraines my whole life, bipolar disorder, ADHD, and PTSD from some certain situations. And but when I was 26, I started having these headaches that were like nothing I'd ever felt before, and they'd come on, they'd go for 15 minutes to 3 hours, and it was just excruciating. I mean, it was unbelievable. And it was a living death, and I was bedridden at 26 years old for 2 years. I didn't leave a bedroom. I just stayed there because I was constantly in pain. And I found something that helped. I don't like to really get into that, but I found something that helped. And no one believed me. My own mother didn't believe me. No one believed what I was saying. And one night, my ex had gone online and searched my condition linked with what I said was working for me, and found a doctor in Nashville, Tennessee that had written some books. And she talked to him. And long story short, a few days later on a Saturday afternoon, he called me. I was laying in bed. He said, "Can you come to Tennessee to see me? I'd like to try and help you. I'm not promising you anything, but if I can help, I will." So I was like, "Oh man, sure." And because he believed what I was saying, and he had used this particular medicine to treat someone with my condition before. And so I went down, saw him, and that was the day my life changed. At that point, like I felt reborn, because I really felt like I had nothing left. I was in the suicide ward at a hospital because I was done. I was just done living like that. So
Well, that
much
fucking sucks, dude. Like, I couldn't imagine that. Just random fucking headaches and debilitating too. I've never had the experience, but I've witnessed that with other people where they've had like fucking debilitating headache to where you can't even see, you can't do shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be torture, man. So I'm
Yeah,
totally
it's
understand that.
called chronic cluster headaches. Cluster headaches, the suicide headache they call them. And he
Hey,
helped me out.
um, just real quick, I actually have somebody, now that you just called it the suicide headache, I have a buddy that's potentially dealing with that. So I may hit you in DM about what you're talking about, just to maybe it'll
Yeah,
help. I don't know. So
yeah. Well, he put me on this medicine, and it's controversial. And I stayed with him for 3 years. As soon as I came back from my first trip to Tennessee, which was April 30th of 2008, I came back from Tennessee, came home. I got a job immediately. I started working. I worked full time. I was loving life. I was like, like, I've been through this. Nothing's gonna phase me now. And then I was working at a place, and they outsourced us. They shipped our company over. I was working for a phone company selling cell phones over the phone, and they sent our business overseas. So they unemployed 300 something people up here, which is huge out of 10,000 people that live up here in this town. And I said, I'm going to go back to school. So I went to school to be a barber, and I went through that, got that. And through the whole thing, my doctor had written a second book, and then he wrote a third book. And in the third book, I'm the first chapter. My lucky number has always been 27. And it just so happens that my story starts right on page 27. My name is John Reynolds in the book. And the whole first chapter is about me. The book's actually called The Opiate Cure, Pain in the Bipolar Spectrum. It's by Robert Cochran Jr. He passed away a couple years ago. But I was lucky enough to be in the book. I spoke at a book signing down at Barnes and Noble one time, which was really cool. So I went through all that, and then, some other stuff, and I am where I am today. And I went through hell in a relationship, and was like looking for a way out, but I had decided to be the stepfather of two girls whose father wasn't around. And when I dedicated myself to that, I said, I won't leave until they're adults, no matter what I have to go through here. I've dedicated myself to it. I'm going to go through with it. And so they turned 18 or whatever. And there was always this girl in school that I was in love with. And, I loved her. And she would just never go out with me, just never went out with me. And so I had to like stop. We were best friends, but I wanted more than that, and eventually I said, well, enough's enough. You won't go out with me. You're always dating my friends. I can't do this anymore. I can't associate with you. So I stopped talking to her my sophomore year in high school. And it's like, you know, everything, if you're a good person, everything's going to fall into your lap. You know what I mean? God's going to put it there at the right time. And it's going to happen in ways where you just can't deny that's what's happening. You know, I was never a computer guy. And then all of a sudden I fixed a computer that I had sitting around, opened it up, started Facebook, and there's a message from the girl that I was always in love with, you know, and now we've been together for 5 years, just had our first daughter. Yeah, so I got my dream girl, you know, got my dream child. I'm growing cannabis. I'm on Talking Shit with Eagle, talking to Smiley.
Right?
You know what I mean? Yeah, it's
No,
cool.
dude, that's dope, man. I love that because just knowing. I mean, I was kind of answering in chat too. They were asking about the headaches, and I was kind of just trying to make it make sense as much as I could. But yeah, like when you get told there's nothing they can do and they don't know why it's happening and none of the things they give you help with it, yeah, suicide legitimately becomes the fucking only thought of escape from it.
Yep.
And I don't know, man, I couldn't put myself in them shoes personally, but I do kind of get a feel for that, just saying it like that. It's like, wow, you know, that's fucking. So I'm super happy for you, man, to find a way out of that and actually fucking having your dream girl, and now you got your other dream girl. That's sweet.
Yeah, it was cool. The thing that I ran into with why I couldn't find help for it was because the medicine is an opiate that I had to take, and there's a lot of abuse of it.
They throw heavy artillery at it, man. The medicine, fucking crazy.
Yeah, there's a lot of addiction, and it's a touchy thing. There's a lot of people I know whose lives have been destroyed by this shit. But there's a lot of people it can help, and so you kind of have it's a double-edged sword, you know, where you know, it's hurting so many, but at the same time, I think a lot of the people who go to opiates are people who have things like bipolar disorder, ADHD, and when they take it, they feel better. But the problem with what they're taking is it's a short-acting opiate. So it doesn't help because they bounce off in it in 4 hours. It has to be something that's long-lasting to level them out so that they can function at a normal rate. I don't think there's anything wrong with what they're doing, and I realize why they're searching for it, because I have the bipolar aspect of it. But it was the pain that really made it necessary. But what I noticed was when I took it, my bipolar panned out. I was able to go back to school and be in a school with 30 females, you know, cutting hair, yap, 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 yapping. And I'm someone
enough to give you a headache.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. No one thought I was going to make it because of my history. You know what I mean? I got the middle school I was in, I got booted out of. They didn't want me and that friend I was talking about. They didn't want us in the school together anymore. So they sent me to the other middle school and put me in a different put me in like a second chances program, they called it. So they separated the two of us, and that's kind of been that's been the history with me and this guy. Is like, you get me and him in the same room, and people are like, we don't like it.
Trouble.
Well, we like to laugh. You know what I mean? Like, we love to laugh, and we love to joke and say funny things. And our minds kind of work in a different way. So while we're saying things, I see a lot of looks like people are like, is this motherfucker making fun of me?
You know? Yes, we are.
Well, sometimes, yeah, sometimes, yeah. But it's more like, man, we're fucking teasing you. You know,
Yeah.
we're just teasing. We're trying to joke back and forth with you. You know, we're not trying to really cut deep. We're just, but that's how it was. Like, even even his old lady would be like, I'm not bringing him with us because you guys act crazy. And then there was always like, you know, I'm 5'8", 160 pounds, and really quick-witted and kind of mouthy sometimes, especially if you're a dick to me. If you're a dick, like, okay, shout out to my boy on here, local resident psychopath. Okay, he had a friend well, he's on Instagram, and no show more grow, and no show, yeah, more grow. That's him. He's a good buddy of mine now, and Snarfy and Optimal Grow and Smoking Grow Fraser, like all these guys. Like I talk in Moonflower Growery. I talk with a lot of these dudes, a fair amount. But there was a guy on Locals page, and he was looking for some help, and I was like, dude, just, try this. And this guy, just like, this one of his buddies just started like attacking me. And I tried to be nice at first. I was like, hey man, don't do that. You don't need to be a jerk, dude. There's no need for that. I'm just trying to help the dude or whatever. And he just kept at me, kept writing comments. So I fucking gave him the verbal beatdown, and and he blocked me and shit. And, he like got so mad, but it's like, but anyways, what I was saying was, I'm just a smaller guy. My friend's a bigger guy, and we'd be laughing, and someone would always pick me out. You know what I mean? And come over and want beef and try to push me around, slap me around, and my buddy would would jump in the middle, and a fight always broke out. So no one liked the two of us, together in that kind of sense. But what are you gonna do?
Good friend though.
Well, yeah. We're like brothers. We lived in Chicago together, and we've been through some some stuff. We have our moments, but it's that kind of thing, like a brother thing.
What brought you guys out to Chicago?
His father worked for a company called McCain's, and they had a dispatch out there. It's a potato company. They make like French fries and shit like that. It's real big up here in Canada side of things, and they sell a lot of French fries on their other names. Like, I think, like, the major brands in the stores and stuff all come from, a lot of them come from McCain processing plants in this area. I don't know who does it in other ones, but so his father was dispatch for the trailer trucks and all that, and they moved dispatch from up here down to Chicago. So he went down by himself, and he was working for BNSF Santa Fe Railroad, and what was the other? It was BNSF, and Santa Fe Railroad. And he was what they called a terminal manager, but he was down there by himself, bored out of his mind. And I was getting into major trouble up here, like major trouble, and was gonna do jail time, which I ended up doing anyway after I came back. But he was just bummed out, man, like fucking bored down here. So, and I was in so much trouble, I just moved down there to see what it was like. So I moved down there, and I lived there for like half a year, I think, before I came back. And then I just, like, there's nothing up here, so I just started getting into more trouble, and then I ended up in jail, and I said, fuck this. No more jail for me. I got out of jail when I was almost 20. And
do you mind saying what you went, or is that kind of nah?
I was a burglar.
Oh,
yeah, I was a burglar back then. I was a
mischievous.
hustler.
Like, I get it though. Like, you're just up in the middle of nowhere, mischievous kind of thing to do.
Yeah, I was the guy who was like, hey man, we ain't got no food tonight. I'm gonna call up Pizza Hut and tell them they fucked my pizza up last night. See if I can get a free pizza. and it worked. And
Oh
so,
yeah,
you know, I do shit like that to McDonald's. I was just a punk hustler, you know what I mean? Like I'd do anything I could to make my way. I hated going home. So, you know, I did whatever I had to. And it was one of them things again where I reflected on it and was like, I wouldn't want someone doing that to me.
yeah.
You know, but that's what a lot of drinking and hanging out with the wrong people and stuff, that's where it got me. You know, so I had to focus my energy somewhere else, and I was actually about to go back, but then a friend of mine got a job for a steel construction company that was based out of here but worked in Mass and Connecticut and all that. And it was actually a female, and she was going to go work for this guy, and I had 3 days left to pay my restitution. I had no money, and I had 18 months hanging over my head. And she was like, well, talk to this dude. And I said, well, you talk to him. I don't even know him. So she talked to him. She was like, this is my friend. He, you know, he's like, I'd done carpentry. It was a carpenter's helper as a job when I was like 15, and did drafting and carpentry in school and stuff. So I was familiar with construction and building. And so I had some experience. And he was like, well, put him on the phone. I got on the phone with this dude, and he's like, how much money do you owe? I said, well, I owe him 1,700 right now. He said, all right, man, come up here and I'll cut you a check, and you're coming to work for me. I was like, dude, I don't even know you, man. He's like, he goes, shut the fuck up. Come up here and get your check, and you're coming to work for me. It's like, oh man, all right. So I went with him, and he ended up being one of my best friends, like through the thing. I loved working for him. He was a wild man. You know, I mean, he was absolutely a wild man.
Sounds like it. He just paid it off, said, come on up. Doesn't know you either, you know what I mean? So
Oh, he was making bank. We were putting up storage facilities all over the place. The first one I was on was like a 650,000 square foot facility.
damn.
And what he was doing was he was getting like 25, 30 bucks an hour for each one of his guys, bringing guys from up here down there and starting them off at $8. So, you know, that whole thing. And yeah, he bought me a car, which I still have, my first car that I paid off myself, but he flipped the money for it. 78 Grand Prix with a 350, 4-barrel, dual exhaust, you know, all the goodies on it. It was really cool. You know, I bought it, and he bought all my tools. He bought everything, you know, and I did that for a number of years. And then I came back up here and I met the girl I was with for 15 years and decided to stay here. And that's when, you know, I started getting older. That's when the incandescent bulb and the dirtweed seeds hit the closet.
All right. All right.
But yeah, it's
Sounds like he
been,
didn't do you wrong though, man. That's pretty sweet, you know. Everybody kind of needs that too, you know what I mean? Just a little break here or there from somebody, you know.
yeah, it's been an interesting life, to say the least, but it's definitely been revealing. Like, you know, like a lot of people wonder, is there anything more to it? Yeah, there's more to it. I can fucking vouch for that.
All right.
100%, that if you decide to be honest and treat people the right way, I think a lot of things are about intent. It's about intent. You know, we come across in certain ways sometimes, and other people might not get us, and it might hurt their feelings. But I think if your intent's good and you really don't, you know, I think you're good with God, and you know, you'll be okay. You know, things will be provided for you. They might not be what I tend to find is like right about the time I'm fed up, right, and I'm like, why isn't this kicking in yet? What the fuck? You know, it's about 2 days before it happens, you know, and I'm like, oh shit, man, there I go again, doubting everything. And it's just laid out for me a few days later, you know, and so there's definitely more to it there. Whatever it is, I don't know, but you know, you can feel it sometimes. You can just feel it, feel good people, and you can feel good energy, and you can feel bad energy from people too. I mean, that sense is there for a reason. It might not be like taste, and it might not be like smell or sight, where you can actually either put your hands on it or visually see it, but it's there. You know, it's there. I think we all feel it.
Well, dude, that just speaks to like they say forget what the rule is, the percentages, but it's like 10 or 15% of what we communicated is in the words that we say. So,
Mhm.
for example, like typing in chat, 10% of what you're communicating is in that word. The rest is in your tone of voice and in your body language. So,
Yep.
like 85% of what you communicate is in your tone of voice and your body language. And that's why, like, dogs understand you. That's why, like, you know what I mean? Animals, they don't have to know the words to understand what you're trying to communicate to them. So,
Yeah.
that's where these things are really cool too, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like everybody's getting to meet you, and it's fucking cool, man. I'm digging it.
Yeah,
Digging it.
I'm sure a lot of people were like, "What the fuck's this guy all about?" I said to Eagle today when why isn't he on here?
Ego?
Yeah.
He's at a concert. His daughter's
Oh,
boyfriend had
yeah,
a concert tonight. So
yeah. I said to him earlier, I go, "Are you ready to have this?" I go, "Are you ready to deal with a fucking idiot tonight?"
we're always dealing. We're ready, man. That's funny shit.
You know,
Yeah.
I was like, don't mind me, dude. I just like to be a stupid ass. That's all. You know,
Yeah, that's what it's all about, man. We're just fucking talking shit anyway. So
that's it. That's what I like about it. It's really cool. I hear you guys like I lately I haven't had a lot of time to really watch it, but I watched it was a couple nights ago, I think, and you were like, what are you, like 150 years old now, dude? Just like he sleeps in a coffin or something like that, man.
he's
I
a
was
vampire.
Yeah, the way you guys were interacting, dude, I was busting a gut. That's the kind of shit that, you know, my sense of humor feeds to that really well, you know, like that's what I like to see. Two people who are cool with each other, you can brick on each other, and you know it's they don't mean shit by it. They're just joking with you, you know. And then last night with the duct tape story, holy dude, I was laughing till my stomach hurt. You're like back when duct tape could fix anything, like it was like the ultimate tool. And I'm thinking to myself, like, yeah,
It
dude,
still
I
is.
still do that. Yeah, I still do that. And then he was saying how hardcore was that his father he was talking about?
Ego?
Yeah, or
I
his
believe.
grandfather,
I think his father.
his father. And he was like, he was so tough and so hardcore that he duct taped the fork to his hand. I was like, yeah, I know. My stepfather's like that, like, you know, die hard, man. I was just like, I was dying laughing at it. It was so funny, dude. I was getting such a kick out of it. But yeah, I like how it's like talking to people in the community, the people that love to do this thing, whether they're the top of the heap or the bottom of the barrel right now. You know, everybody starts somewhere. And I think that a lot of the issue with doing this, or just like doing a lot of things in general, is people feel like they have to know every aspect of everything to be credible or to be valued or to have a part in it. And that's not the case. We all start learning. And the only reason you don't know something is because you haven't learned it yet. You haven't done it yet. I think that a lot of people tend to feel stupid for not knowing something. I know sometimes I do, like man, I feel dumb or whatever, you know. But it's just because you ain't learned it yet. and experience is a big part of it, and having people there to help you along is a really cool thing. And I like how his show is grabbing people from every aspect of the cannabis growing community or cannabis loving community, and bringing them together and just letting them talk to each other in the chat. It's like those people, the people in the chat, I noticed they conversate with one another. They're familiar with one another, you know, and that's cool, because especially at a time like this where people are so separated, you know, it's a big thing. There needs to be a lot more of that on this planet, not just in this chat room or in this state or in this country. That needs to happen around the damn world. People need to accept other people's fucking differences and fucking not hate each other for it. Like, you know,
Right.
how stupid is it to fight somebody because they believe something different? It's like I always said like this. You could have two guys be best friends for 50 years. I've known this guy for 50 years. We've never talked religion, and we've never talked politics. But the day they talk politics, you know, they have a few beers, they talk, yeah, they're throwing down in the backyard, you know, pushing each other over the campfire. You know, it's like, it's not cool, man. It's just like, you know, it's like you believe something different. That's fine. That's fine. You know, my parents always told me, as long as you ain't hurting nobody else, you ain't doing nothing wrong. You know, and I think that that's true to an extent, you know, but pretty much completely true. But, you know, it's cool to have people come together and be able to have a good time and do things that don't require an argument, you know, don't get into an argument, you know, two people who can discuss something and not fight about it, because it's all over the place now. People fighting with each other over dumb stuff, you know what I mean?
At the end of the day, it really is dumb stuff, for
It
sure.
is. It's super dumb. It's like, it doesn't even, like, how much does it even matter? Like, does your opinion really affect the outcome? You know, the
Yeah,
topic,
is it worth the price of trying to get your opinion heard? That's more.
right? Right. And I think what it is the topic matters, but
Yeah.
we as people, just everyday people, we don't have much to do with the decisions being made, you know? And that's wrong. That's wrong, because it's supposed to be about us. People are supposed to represent us, so it should be about what the people think and feel. But like with the pot, you know, everybody was always like, pot should be legal, pot should be legal, pot should be legal. And then there was
Yeah.
the people fighting it, you know, and finally we got it so that it is, and just need to keep on going.
I still feel like that's a big wake up call to a lot of people of what the propaganda bullshit is capable of, you know. The
Oh
fucking
yeah.
propaganda machine pumping it out. We're just it's trying to lay the tracks for the roller coaster they want us to go on. That's all it fucking is, man.
That's it. That's exactly what it is, man. And they steer it so well. They steer it so well. And it's, again, you don't know until you learn. So you can fool people who either don't research it or just will believe whatever you tell them, kind of thing, you know, and it's
For the
just,
headliners.
it's immoral. It's not cool.
Yeah.
Some people don't care. I've always wondered what it would be like to like, I can't remember what it was like to not care about the effect of a lie, or, you know, a wrongful act or whatever. I mean, it's one thing to say, hey mom, I'm going to the library so you can go hang out with your friends. I mean, that's something that teenagers and kids go through. That's a different thing when you're older and you're like, I'm gonna, like, these people who can think ahead and go, well, if I say this, they'll say this, and then I'll say this, and then they'll say that, and then I'll say this, and it'll lead to me getting what I want.
Yeah.
I've never been able to understand that. I've never thought in that method, and I've never been able to understand people who do that. I just, and I really don't like shit like that. Like, it, to me, if you're dishonest, if you're a liar person, to me, you're no different than pedos, because they're liars too. Anybody who has to lie to hide what they're really doing, what their real objective is it's a cowardice act to me. And my kids, that's all he preaches about is lying and honesty. But that's because it's reality. Anything other than the truth is not real.
Well,
So
I mean, if you catch somebody in a lie, the hard part is that you don't know exactly where to put them in that reliable category, right? Like,
yeah.
the next time they tell you something that you're supposed to rely on, and you're just, I don't know, it's kind of like, well,
Yeah.
and after so many times of it not being reliable for you, you're just not going to walk out the plank that's going to fall out from underneath you. You know what I mean? Like, so to speak. So
Right. And you never can tell, like, what are they trying to get?
mm-hmm.
A lot of it's monetary, like they want to take some, gain something or whatever. And to me, it's just like, I've always been like I said, I was a bad kid and stuff, and I was a sneaky and methodical, and whatever. So when it comes to, like, I thought, like, and it was always like to fool my parents, you know what I mean? Because they knew I was a troublemaker and I was always getting in trouble for something. So anytime I'd be like, hey, I want to go over to so-and-so's house, they just, like you said, the bottom falls out and they don't believe you anymore. You've cried wolf one too many times. They're not going to come running anymore. So I had to get creative with my parents. And so it's like I told my daughters, you're never going to tell a fib that I haven't told, and you're never going to come up with a scheme that I haven't come up with yet. So don't try it, and people, it really insults me when someone is trying to lie to me, and I can see it, and I just let it, like, nowadays, I don't even bother calling people on them. I just, like, let the conversation go to where it needs to end, and that's that, but it's kind of like, insult my intelligence kind of thing. And so I try not to do that shit to people, and everything, I think, it's the truth is the truth, and it just doesn't change. So why waste your time with anything other than the truth? It's all there is. It's all there is. You know what I mean? When I raise my kid, that's what I want people to remember. I want people to look at my kid, if not me as well, and go, now that's a stand-up person right there. That's a person who would do the right thing. That's a person who would help if you needed help, and just be a good person in general. And that way you're not contributing to the wrongdoings and stuff. Because if there is a heaven, everybody out there stresses and stuff, but if there is a heaven and there's eternal bliss after this,
there is.
Man, I'm willing to wait, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I'm patient enough to wait for a plant to flower. I'll be patient enough to just take my time and do this too, some people are on the wrong track, like I used to be, and just there's always time to change. I've never lived it down, though, to be honest with you. Like, in this small town, in this small area, I've never lived it down, ever. Like, they still look at me the same. I'm almost 50 years old, and they still look at me the same. It's been like 30 years, you know what I mean? And and they still look at me like that. So it's a very difficult task to take, and difficult road to walk, to stay that way when even though you do it and it's a big change for, you know, certain people, you don't get the credit for it. It'd be easier to go, well, shit, man, they think I'm like that anyway.
Yeah.
So why not just go back to doing it? And
You're
you
like,
know,
no, that was me that back then. I've changed. You know, it's kind of like hard to explain to everybody too. Yeah.
yeah, they all still think, like, they see me enter a room, and if they remember me from school, they're like, shit, he's gonna start picking on me. You know, he's gonna start saying shit to me. No, you know.
It
So
changes though. I found that too, like the little squabbles in high school and whatever. Like I mean, I think everybody kind of has their little whatever rival kid in school. You know what I mean? That was
yeah,
always the kid they were getting into it with. You know, and
yeah,
shit, man. Like the one kid I remember, I see him now, and it's like fucking, hey, what's up, man? And you know what I mean? It's just we just remember each other from way back. It's not like we remember arguing and fighting. It's not that doesn't carry on. You know what I mean? It's just somebody in common that you know what I mean at that point. So some of that
yeah,
goes away real quick.
yeah, for sure, man. And that's the way it should be. I mean, it should be able to just be like, hey, grown up now, you know. Time's gone by. It's all cool. But
Perspectives change. You know, like you get a little older, you look at the world a little different. You've been
oh
down a few paths, you kind of think a little better about which one you want to take. And like you were talking about basing things in truth, and it's kind of like, well, if you think about it, your navigational coordinates, so to speak, are based off what you think is reality. So, you know, if you're trying to navigate through life in a world that, you know, off a map that isn't based in reality, so to speak here, then you're not going to wind up where you're trying to go either. So like, you know, trying to get into that truth of what reality is just trying to give you the best map to navigate where you want to go from, right? Like,
yeah, yeah, for sure. You need to, you know, you never know where, you wouldn't know where the hell you'd end up, for sure, you know. So, and I mean, I guess it's one of them things where people can still say, there, you know, there's people who are atheists and stuff and just think, you know, there's nothing to it. But to me, it's just too, it's just too amazing, you know, when you really look at life. You know what I mean? I remember when I was young and decided I was going to change my way. It was when I started thinking about like the end of the world, you know, and it was around Y2K time, I think, a couple years before that. So they were, you know, they were acting like things were going to collapse and the world was going to overheat. And I learned about Nostradamus and his predictions and stuff, and it scared the hell out of me, you know, to be honest.
good rabbit holes, man.
Yeah, and I was really scared. And I was like, you know, I see my horoscopes, I read my horoscopes, and I see them where one thing that I've always, like, if it wasn't for Bruce Lee's like, if I hadn't found Bruce Lee when I was young, I wouldn't be the way I am. It's all like, I
What?
did the martial art part of it, but the best part about Bruce Lee himself was the philosophy behind it, the simplicity of a human being nothing more than what you are, and accepting that, being good with it, and accepting it from other people as well, is where it all started. And like, then you start to see links between everything. And you know, if you read the Bible, or if you know, whatever you believe in, or whatever you see truth in, will kind of steer you in that direction. And you know, I was reading all those things and seeing all that stuff, and I remember thinking to myself, man, what would it be like if I had never even gotten to witness a light bulb? Like, It seems like nothing, but when you think about what it really is, I mean, it's a pretty amazing thing to have. I mean, if you were living in a cave, you know, coming from that far back, it's it's pretty amazing in the ability of a person and the conscious level of a human being.
True.
I think that people are like, well, what's the meaning of a person? What's our purpose? Our purpose is, I think, to take care of the place. It's just because we've been given the gift to know better. Some people are like, yeah, we're just animals, man. We're like dogs. No, you're not like a dog.
You know better.
You have a fucking conscience, dude. You can learn 2 + 2 is 4, and you can make a decision based on, this is right or it's wrong, and you have a conscience. So that's where the difference lays. And a lot of people like, yeah, we are a mammal, I guess, and we are a creature, a being, but we're pretty enlightened at the same time.
Yeah, it is separate us from a lot of parts of nature,
Yeah.
I mean, there's other animals that are intelligent, like octopus and dolphins, but they don't rule the world. I mean, for the most part, it's human. We think it's our age, but it's actually it's all our gut bacteria. So the bacteria actually rule the world. They use us to just get around. That's all.
Yeah, you're right. Sometimes I wonder, like, something that really fascinates me is, who Paul Stamets is?
Oh yeah.
Okay, and the stoned ape theory.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And the whole test that they did with the person on psilocybin and the person not on psilocybin, and feeding them the information and seeing how much they can retain. And they compared it to, like, the person on the psilocybin had an information tunnel that was like a culvert, and the person without it had an information tunnel like a drinking straw. And that actually brings me back to the cluster headache thing. Psilocybin is a treatment for those. Via the neurogenesis and whatnot. But something that fascinates me is Paul Stamets and them. They feel like mycelium mats and stuff like that are actually have a conscience. They actually think. They've
shown them to think.
Yeah, like neurologically. So that's another part of my fascination with the soil and the plant interaction, and us as well, our interaction with it. So it's really cool, man. Like you said, the bacteria, the fungus, and who knows, we could be a walking mushroom for all we know. It's like, where the hell do we come from? We're a mix of so much. We're from the earth, I guess. So
yeah, it's funny. I mean, we think we control so much, but yet our fucking gut bacteria will control what mood we're in. Like,
oh yeah,
like, I mean, we think that's an outside stimuli or why we're in a bad mood, but or even, I don't know, maybe some depression feeling and stuff like that. And it's like, well, I don't know, maybe eat an apple.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a different thought, right? Like,
yeah, and that's where I go to with the plant and the soil and feeding the soil. It's the same thing. Like, make the plant happy via, like I was saying, the soil's like the stomach, the body of the plant's like the body, and the body's what's going to give you the signs of whether the stomach is healthy or not. And that's kind of where I go with it. It's a different thing, but the plant gives us what we need, and we give the plant what it needs. Like I mean, all you need for an example with that is air. They breathe what we breathe out, and we breathe what they breathe out. So it's a coexisting thing. Yeah. And they're our link. And that's like anything we need to make us better is already here on the earth. We just need to discover it. It's all been given to us right there, you know, either that or we have the ability to see like, hey, we can kind of alter this and we know it's going to work chemically with us to make us better, you know. So that's kind of how I go with the philosophy of growing as well, you know. It's just like philosophy of people and religion and all that. It's all kind of coexists for me.
I like it, man. That's cool. Real cool.
Some people are this guy's
You don't smoke, you don't want to light one up? I'm sitting over here, I've like smoked 2-3
well,
days.
yeah, I've had some in front of me, but I run my mouth so much.
Yeah, I might have to have you hold it down for a second too. I'm gonna have to go take a leak here in a minute. So
Yeah, go for it. I don't know. I don't see chat, so.
oh, you don't get to see it?
I
Oh, you're on
don't.
your phone, so yeah, probably don't.
Yeah, I'm not seeing what anybody's saying or whatever. So maybe if they need to piss, they can take a break too, because I'll have to step off to the side here to actually smoke this up so I don't reveal my identity. I don't want people to realize that I'm Jeff Bezos. Start asking for discounts.
Yeah. You know that happened too. All right, Jeff's gonna give us a discount code at the end of the show tonight. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's funny. So
Yeah, that sounds like a plan though. If you gotta go,
yeah, they were talking about mushrooms. So
what's that?
they're in the chat talking about mushrooms. So you could tell a story about that.
Yeah, that's mushrooms. They're actually doing that in Colorado, I think. Letting people take mushrooms to cure neurological problems, and makes sense. I'm not going to be able to actually stick this motherfucker here without. There we go. All right. Sorry, I can't see any of you guys typing, and I don't know who's on there. I don't know if any of my followers are on there, but if you are, thanks for watching. Hope I'm not a huge disappointment.
Oh shit, dude! There's 70-some people watching.
That's cool.
Yeah, they're digging it, dude. Cool, you're a cool ass dude, man. I'm glad you came on and introduced yourself and hanging out for a while.
Yeah, it's fun, man. I love to. It's not like I don't talk to people up here. Like I just don't. I don't even talk to the guy that I've been friends with for so long. I don't talk to him much. I just, I kind of stay here, and I'm very hermitish.
Do you follow a guy named Tribal Gardens on Instagram by chance?
I don't think so.
You have to maybe give him a follow after this or whatever, but Tribal's cool as hell. And he blew me away, man. He's kind of up in the middle of nowhere in Canada too, and like he had never seen another person's plant before and shit. Like,
wow.
he jumped, yeah, like he had been growing and just I don't know, I just fucking grew it. It grew, and that's what it was. And like, he had never compared or never seen anybody else's, and he grows the fucking beautiful plants, man. He does a phenomenal job. So
That's
it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I saw a thing from a guy like a couple years ago. I wanted to have some small cloth pots, and didn't want to, I was like, man, they're made of polypropylene. I don't want to pay $5 for a small polypropylene bag made out of recycled bottles, you know?
Yeah.
So as I was in the store one day, I was looking at weed mat, and I saw that the weed mat I was looking at was made of polypropylene. I said, well, fuck it, I'm going to get that, and I'm going to make myself cloth pots out of this shit. So I got it, and I'm like, oh, man, I'm on to something here. I'm, you know, I'm reinventing the wheel. You know, I've got a flat iron for hair, and I'm crimping it and pinching it together and melting it, you know, and I'm having all kinds of issues burning holes through it and shit and whatnot. So I stitched some, and I just wasted a bunch of time doing it, right? And I'm like, man, that's pretty original. I wonder if anybody else is doing it, like the Walmart, like the reusable Walmart bag thing. 50 cents for a polypropylene bag. I mean, you can't go wrong, right? So I've used those to grow tomatoes in and stuff, and I thought I was onto something there. I look on YouTube and I see a bunch of people using them. Well, like you were saying about the Canadian thing, there was this guy that I saw a thing for. He was way up in the middle of Canada, said that he had no access to stuff and it took forever to ship and shipping was expensive. So he was making his cloth pots out of weed mat, polypropylene weed mat. And I was like, it's so cool, man, to see like someone way out somewhere else just come up with the same shit you come up with, and you know, just out of necessity doing it. That's when you said that about that guy, that's what that reminded me of. And those Canadian dudes that grow outside, man, that blows me away.
Yeah, he's indoor and he does a super soil mix, and then
Yeah,
he does it in a sub irrigated like tray. So he has his
yeah.
bed is like the
He lets it whip.
hydroton, and then he puts water in so it wicks up or whatever. So yeah,
Yeah,
man,
that's
it
smart.
rocks for him, dude. And you know,
Yeah.
he's like, he got it super sub cool super soil recipe. He's like, I got all the shit, mixed it up, and fucking yeah, just grew it. Never seen anything other but how it was supposed to go or anything. Just it fucking went watered only, like you said. Went
Sounds like he's got a lot of common sense.
right, no shit.
Yeah, yeah. The wicking thing is something that I like with the cloth pots. I mean, I don't like have trays and stuff, but I have like my old veg system was just like a rectangular shaped trash can from Walmart that narrows at the bottom, and then like a little they have these dish pan things. It's like a little 4-inch deep dish pan deal that they have at Walmart. Plastic things are like 90 cents. So I use those for the bottoms. And that's how I used to water, was I'd fill that thing up at the bottom and let it wick up into the deal instead of running it through the top and having the runoff. Because when you wick, you can really measure exactly, you know, you can stop giving it water when it's at its capacity. You'll know, you know. I suppose you can and have the runoff too, but the wicking thing, it
It
works really
stops
well.
drumming it up when it's saturated.
Yeah, and it's super quick too. You just dump it in and you walk off and you let it do its thing, you know. Because sometimes when you get like a really dry pot, especially with peat moss where it's hydrophobic, you're watering and you're watering and you're watering and it's just running out the bottom of the fucking pot, you know. Like, damn, when's it going to absorb something, you know? And you're losing all that stuff. That's that's the bitch about peat moss, is like
Yeah,
that initial getting it to accept water. I started buying contractor trash bags, and I dump my peat in there, and then I dump a couple gallons of water in, tie it up, and stomp on it. Sit
there's
there
a
and step on it.
if you get the 3.8 cubic foot bales or whatever of the this Magnum peat, They
Yeah.
actually cut those. They cut those raw and they wrap them, and it's a different kind of texture from what it would be like a Pro Mix or a Sunshine or something like that, where they actually grind it down and then heat
Yeah.
it and do all the steps. But I mean, there's actually kind of a bigger chunk to it when it starts out. So I really like that kind of a bale, and I haven't seen that in many other bags. Like, so that's one thing. If you're doing your own soil, I do think it's worth the time and money to actually get that bale because it is different, you know.
You mean the big bale?
Yeah, because and it'll accept water better. It doesn't get that. It doesn't necessarily get that hydrophobic layer that I've found where it, like where it's more finely ground. It seems to get where it's more going to be hydro and not want to take the water basically.
You're talking about the bale that's well, if it's the same brand, it's in a green bale, 3 point something cubic foot.
The Lamberts, yeah, is the one. There's a couple different brands I've
Here.
seen, but they're
Yeah,
all the same
Premier they
kind
have up
of
here.
kit.
Yeah, when I initially try to water it, like to mix it with my perlite and vermiculite, it seems like it doesn't, the stuff I get anyway doesn't want to take the water. So I have to like knead it, you know,
Yeah,
with my hands, and that friggin' sucks, or sitting there stirring it. So I just put it in a bag and like
some wicket.
put the feet to it. And it kind of like stomps the water into it, and it doesn't make a big dusty mess. But yeah, if you're gonna use anything, that's what I use, because if you buy Pro Mix, you're getting a lot less of it for the same price, and you're just getting a little bit of perlite in it. You're going to save money if you buy the big bale and add your own bag of perlite and your own bag of vermiculite to it, and you know you're going to get a lot. That's what I make my super soil out of, is those big bales of 3 cubic foot bales of peat moss, and then I add my implements. And I actually don't, a lot of people add a lot of worm castings, which can get expensive. I don't do that. I make a compost tea instead. So I take the worm castings and I add them to my compost tea, and I let them multiply that way. I let the microbes multiply that way, and then I add it into my super soil. I also use it's the same compost tea that I would feed my plants. That's what I water my super soil with before it cooks. And I just add that in, and then lactobacillus to keep it from going anaerobic in the trash can or whatever that it's cooking in. And like in some of the photos that I have, you can see like it'll be like instant the next day. It'll have that fuzzy layer on top, which I'm told is like yeast, like a form of yeast on there. I always thought it was mycelium. Like a lot of people say it's mycelium, the fruiting body of the mycelium, but like Leighton clarified for me, it's like it's yeast body of the yeast or something to that effect. But there is a lot of people calling it mycelium.
Right.
And he said, he's like, he had written me back. He's such a cool guy, dude. I talked to him, he called me, I talked to him on the phone for a while. And I mean, who does that? You know what I mean?
Leighton does.
Yeah, in this day and age, like you look at some of these guys, and if you reach out to them, they don't respond. A lot of them don't respond. And he will respond, he'll help you, he'll clarify things for you, and he's just really cool. I really like talking to him, and he's just really a cool, down to earth dude. Him and the Soil King. He went out of his way to help me. I won a contest from Moonshine Global. And that's another guy that goes out of his way. Moonshine Global in the UK started carrying Big Root soil, and he did a giveaway with some of his product and a bag of Big Roots. Well, it got confiscated at customs in Philadelphia. I called UPS and was like, why isn't it here 6 weeks later? Like, well, it got seized by customs. What the hell? Why? Because it's a soil. They don't want soil coming in from other places and bringing, you know, maybe pathogens or whatever, foreign, whatever. But the soil's from California, shipped over to the UK. Then they seized it over here when he sent it. Cost him $100 to send it. And I wrote to him and I was like, dude, it didn't show up. We both contacted UPS. Well, this guy's like, all right. I said, well, maybe Patrick, because before it even happened, I had a feeling that something was going to go wrong. And I said, why don't you just have Patrick send the soil and you send the bottles? Because sending a 1.5 cubic foot bag of soil over the ocean can't be cheap. You know, it's got to weigh 20, 30 pounds probably if it's saturated, you know, and sure enough, they seized it. So after that, I said, well, maybe Patrick will send me the soil and whatever. So he wrote to Patrick and Patrick wrote to me and was like, yeah, man, I'll hook you up. Just email me. So I emailed him and the guy, Moonshine Global, sent a second batch over of his product so I could run that. And so there's two guys right there that are actually representing the cannabis community the way it should be represented, like the way it was intended to be, the kind of people that were supposed to be involved in this, not the money men who have come in and started to really diminish what the cannabis community was all about. You know, the tokers and the smokers are different kinds of people than the dude who's like, well, I got $200,000 to start a grow op and I've never grown a thing in my life. So I'm going to hire this guy. And then when my buds go moldy, we'll just blast them. You know? So there's two dudes right there that are super solid. Soil King, Moonshine Global, Layton's solid as hell. You know, it's cool stuff. Even Josh there, I saw you talk to Josh and I went and looked at his page and I wrote to him. He responded, but there's other guys that you write to and they won't say anything back to you. You know, they want you to support what they're doing and they want you to show up when they're there, but they don't give a fuck who you are. They just want you to buy what they're selling, you know, and they're willing to make you, you know, they're willing to give enough to get you to do that, like it make you admire them. So you get from them, but you know, another one is Jinx Proof. Jinx is very cool. Very, very cool guy, man. Very, very cool person, you know? So that's what this was supposed to be about. You know what I mean? Honest people who cared about each other, cared about the environment, cared about other people, give a fuck about, you know, everything in general, just good people. But some of it's gone awry, like certain dispensary people, certain money men who just jumped into it. They got that bottom line and they want to hit that profit margin.
Well,
So
yeah, the community became something that could be monetized in the audience, and I don't know.
now they're
I get kind of frustrated with that shit.
yeah. Well, look at the taxes that they're hitting them with in California. That's just crazy. And then the Oklahoma thing, you see, like they want 10 grand for a license or something crazy like that, you know, for, I don't know if that's for a grow op, a dispensary or a caregiver. I'm not sure, but you know, it's, who the fuck can afford that? It's like making it so that the little guys can never get ahead, you know, and there should be room for everybody who wants to do something to actually make an attempt at it at least, you know. But it's, you know, you discourage folks when you make it so costly that it's out of reach, you know, for them to do. And And you see it everywhere now, like even LED lights, they're more efficient, they're better, they're this, they're that, but look at the price of the goddamn things now. You know what I mean? You're going to save money on electricity, but we're going to gouge your ass deep when you buy this $800 4-bar light, and the diodes. I mean, if you look on how to build your own light, the diodes are cheap. The heat sink really doesn't have to exist. And it's a flat piece of steel most of the time now. They're a lot different than they were when they first started.
Yeah, handsome for sure.
They're a lot better and stuff, but I mean, I'll be damned. I can't afford something like that. There's no way. I wouldn't even spend it if I could afford it. I wouldn't dish out $1,000 for something to cover a 4x4 space. I just wouldn't do it. It just
What
sounds
kind of lights do you use?
Well, for my indoor, I used my first actual successful thing when I became a medical patient was just I bought a sheet of steel from Lowe's, flat steel, and I polished it. I took a hole saw and I cut holes in it, 4 holes, and I got 4 of those clamp lights that you use for under the hood of your car or whatever. Took the shields off them, stuck them through the holes. Got the 2-way splitters from Lowe's. Put those in, and I used I think they're either 22 or 32 watt compact fluorescents. So I had 16 of those, and it averaged out to like 52 watts per square foot. So it was a pretty good watt, ratio to the square footage. And I ran those, and dude, I'll be damned if I didn't get great results from it. I mean, they did fabulous. I bought 2400 Kelvin for my flower, and I had 5000 for my veg, and I ran that, and then I decided to upgrade, and I got a double-ended 600 watt high pressure sodium metal halide wing kit from Grow Ace, which was really inexpensive. And I started using that. I went and bought all kinds of PVC and angles, and I built myself another tent, a bigger tent. I used space blankets to line it, because they're cheap and they're Mylar, they're reflective. And so I used those, and then I got to week 5, week 5, and my light kicked on, and then it went, pew, and it just shit the bed, right? So I'm like, oh, what am I gonna do? It's under warranty.
Week 5, too.
Yeah, right at the peak of, and
you can't do shit else about it.
Right. So I was like, well, what am I going to do? It's under warranty, but it's still going to take time to get here. And those CFLs aren't going to fill the space that I have. But I still had all the fixtures with the 2, with the splitters and everything for the clamp lights. So I just went to Lowe's to see what I could find. And I bought up a bunch of par 38 flood lamps, LED flood lamps, par 38s. And I put 12 of them in this tent that I was in. Man, I'll be goddamned if that didn't just kick those plants into overdrive.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, why am I seeing, shouldn't be the case, because they're cheap, and whatever. But I really did find that, I grow one plant underneath one of those lamps, and they're 17 watts, par 38. I think it's 5,500 Kelvin, and just one of those in an earth box and unbelievable. I mean, just amazed me. Like the fucking fan leaves are huge, and it's growing at a great rate, and the internodal spacing is correct. It's not all bunched up. You know, sometimes you see with the LEDs, people's plants are like, you know, they're like 8 nodes high or 8 tiers high, and they're only like this. You know, they're really squat, and it doesn't. I don't think you're gonna get a good yield out of something that's doing that, because you just don't have the, you know, space for the plant to stretch. It has the if you'll know your plant's doing well if it's symmetrical, just like anything else. It's gonna look good. It's gonna look right. You know, it's gonna be symmetrical. So if it's squat and everything, then it's probably your light's too close or it's too intense. You know, or it might not be the right color or whatever. But yeah, just those par 38s I was using, and I had bought a Mars Hydro, like a 300 watt light, and it's like, you know, like really small, and it's got those purple lights in it, which I don't like. I don't like that color, because, you know, for one, it
with your eyes.
Yeah, it bothers my eyes. I don't like it. So, but you know, it's 300 watts, and it's for a 2x2 space. I mean, that's a lot of watts for something like that. That's a lot of watts, and the color is, I didn't like the color. So I ran it, like, I put it in the center of my space, and I ran my par 38s all around, and that was doing really well. That's, you know, just to grow them inside, keep them healthy until I can put them outdoors, get them to the size I wanted to and stuff. And then, yeah, so, and then I rehung my my CFLs, and I've got my HID, like the guy, they replaced everything from my HID. They gave me new bulbs and stuff, and I haven't even used it since since I got it back 3 years ago. I got it back, and I haven't even run it since, you know. And
Home LEDs are rocking it. That's sweet.
Well, I need to. I want to use it, you know, because I want to. I know that high pressure sodium will produce something really decent, and up here where it's really cold, like you were talking about it.
Yeah.
Yes, it benefits that way. So even though you're using a little more electricity, you've got that extra heat. You're blowing the fan on it, and it's keeping the room warm, you know, and helping with that aspect of things. The metal halide that came with it was so crazy. Like I turned it on, and I put it at full power, just 100%. It goes, you know, it's one of them ones that goes up a little higher than 100% or whatever.
Yeah, supposedly does.
Right. And it just, like, even at 100%, dude, it just, my plants, it was like killing them. I said, what the hell, man? Why is this, like, what's happening here? And so I lifted it 7 feet off the ground, which gave it about a 4.5 feet from the light to the top of my plants. Still, plants just cowering from it.
Huh.
I'm like, what the hell's going on? So I turned it down halfway, 300 watts. Same thing. So I don't know what it is with that light, but I don't know if it's just got like a lot of UV.
Well, it could be throwing a lot of heat directly down on them, and if they aren't used to the UV, yeah, they can have kind of an initial reaction to the change. Because the leaves are, I mean, just real quick, sorry, but their leaves actually will start to fill in with different and more chlorophyll for like leaves that receive a higher intense sun, where they may not. So like taking them from indoor to outdoor, that's where you can get that burning and the I don't know, there's a high demand to try to make a lot more chlorophyll for it to be able to react to the more intense sun. So
Yeah, that's what I kind of was thinking, like because it came, I'd do my clones in my other under my other lights, and when I saw what was happening, I was like, there must be like I must need to do like a hardening off process, just like you would to put them outdoors, where the type of light is just so much more intensified, and white. I mean, just white light,
well, and
and
the spectrum they weren't seeing too, right? So it's like,
yeah.
yeah, there's different elements getting triggered there.
Yeah, so it just like I wasn't happy with the way that it worked, but I really want to try it again and see. So I'm gonna run a bunch of different stuff. I've been trying to talk to light companies and stuff to see what they have, and there's some really cool ones for anybody who like doesn't want to spend money on lights. There's Grow Light Giveaway, I think it's called. And I verified this before, so before anybody like thinks it's too good to be true, I verified it with someone else who had been using these guys. But what happens is you go on Amazon and you buy the light, right? And as soon as you buy it, once it ships, they refund you a certain amount, like 40%, right? And then you get the light, you wait 3 days, and you do like a picture and a post with it in there, whatever, and then they refund you 50%. The last light that I checked out from them was 100% refund.
Wow.
Is a like a square LED light, 300 watt, $70 light, and you got it, and they refund you the whole amount. So it's called like Grow Light Giveaway, and there was a dude who I'd seen his name in the comments underneath some of their stuff and their posts. And so I went to him and I said, what's up with this light company that you use, these guys? He said, well, which one? Because I've used a bunch. And so I told him, I said, these guys here, it sounds too good to be true. What's the deal with it? He said, no, man, they're good people. They do exactly what they say. That's exactly how it worked out. So anybody out there who wants to do that, I'm actually going to give it a try and see what happens. I'm going to purchase one from them and see if they do the refund, because hey man, free's the best price of all.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, like, shout out to Johnny Caniseed in chat. Like, he's always on he's got the deals in the making, man. Like, he's always finding the deals. So I just seen
Johnny
him posted.
Fantasy.
Yeah, he was just posting a new washing machine he got found real cheap or something. He's gonna use for a bubble washing machine. I
Oh
dig
no
that
shit.
shit. Yeah, man, I dig that shit. It's just like you
Yeah,
talking, you fuck it, I'm gonna make my pot, like I don't know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Ingenuity, man. That's the beauty of it all. Like I love that shit. Like that's what it's all about, man. Seeing something that you can make from something, it's that's really cool shit. Taking something, putting your own twist on it, and making something awesome out of it, and especially if you hit a home run with it.
Yeah.
But that's kick ass. You mean like a washing machine?
I think it looked like it was a little washing machine, yeah, like clothes washing machine. I don't know, there was two little yeah, you'll have to find them on
Like
Instagram later and check it out.
loader? Like a top loading washing machine or a front?
It was like a little portable mini washing machine. It looked just like the fucking bubble machines, honestly.
Yeah, yeah, it makes sense because it's gonna drain out through that tube, and if you watch Frenchy Cannoli make his stuff, it makes perfect sense. That's awesome, dude. I gotta see Johnny. What?
Johnny Caniseed.
Johnny Caniseed. Okay, I'm gonna come check out what you're doing, dude, because that kicks ass.
Yeah,
That's
he's
really
kind of the deal king, man. He's finding all kinds of cool shit. His whole grow, his whole one of his whole grows was like, yeah, it was like $50. He had a fucking tent,
yeah,
a light, and all kinds of shit set up in there. It's like, damn, dude, I spent more than that on one fan. Fuck.
yeah.
Like,
That's what I tried to. I tried to tell, like, I've seen a couple people who are like, I ain't got the money to start this up, and when I started it up, I didn't have a lot of money to spend on it either, and I wasn't gonna go buy a bunch of lights and stuff. And I happened to see this guy called Green Ninja, I think was his name, on YouTube, and he was running nothing but compact fluorescents. He made like a big board and had splitters and was running and he was getting great results. I mean, the buds come out solid and everything. I can vouch for that. They're solid and whatnot, and they produce a fair amount of heat, so they can keep your space warm, but they won't overheat it. And I was like, well, how can I do this for cheap? So I was like, fuck. I went and bought 2x4s, and I went down on the table saw and I ripped them in half so I could make 2 boards out of one. And I built my box and I wrapped it in a space blanket and stuck a little, one of them Honeywell vortex fans that you see. They push out a fair amount of wind, so I knew it would work. And because at first I was just running my compact fluorescents with tin foil reflectors, because I'd take my tin foil and I'd bunch it up.
Yeah.
And I'd expand it so it was kind of like the divoted, the divoted reflectors. And I just folded them over it, and that's how like I ran for like 3 weeks until I got the rest of it finished. And then I just built I've got some pictures of the box on my Instagram with the steel bent around, and I put chains on it to keep them folded in. And man, it worked good. And it was in everything. I mean, soil, nutrients, lights, the box, all of it was under $250.
Sweet.
And so I ran it like that, and what I would do was I wanted to run 24/7. Like, I didn't want to have my light off. Plus it was cold, so I needed the heat from the box going all the time. So what I did was I made a dark box, and I ran 8 plants, 4 at a time in the box. Every 12 hours, I'd take plants out, put them in the dark box, take the plants out of the dark box and put them in the cube, so I could run a double, with the 24 hours. And I did it that way. And I was getting it wasn't bad. I was getting well over an ounce of plant out of it. So, I'd get, close to probably 10, 12 ounces at a time out of it every, 60, 70 days, something like that. Whereas if I hadn't doubled it up, I would only got half that. But I would never smoke 6 ounces in 60 days.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's badass, man, from a little setup too. Like, that's pretty fucking phenomenal, actually.
Yeah, it's like, I read that like some people can get 2 grams per watt. And that's like, and I read stuff that says people can do it, and I read stuff that says it's like the stuff of legends. Like, you can do it, but you got to be really good. You got to have everything dialed and whatnot. And then I see other stuff where like someone posts something and they're like, these lights are really going to help you get that 1 gram per watt. Well, you should be getting more than 1 gram per watt. You should definitely be shooting for higher than 1 gram. I know there's a guy on Instagram named Wolverine Grown.
Yeah.
You familiar with him?
Yeah.
He pushes 2 grams a watt. He does really well. I mean, and it looks,
he's dialed. He's like a machine. Over.
Yeah, he is, dude. And you see him expanding too, like reinvesting, like he says, reinvest your money in it. And like, he disappeared for a minute. I was like, he's not posting any grow stuff. What's up? And then I think yesterday he posted some cloning, and he's got a whole new setup. I mean, it's all new. Looks like new pots, new trays, new cloners, new everything. And yeah, he's fucking skilled. I see him write down his numbers and shit, and I'm like, dude, you're a scientist, man. You're a
And
scientist.
he's no joke, man. He's
No,
legit, dude. He's running his ass off every day doing that shit. So
he
it's like,
is.
honestly,
That's
I think a lot of Wolverine grown just because he is willing to share a lot of that info too. So he's a
yeah,
helpful dude, man. He's super humble, super helpful, and
yeah. It's not like like a lot of people are still like they were in the old days. Like, let me keep this a secret, and this is my edge on the market. There really isn't, like you were saying, like there's a guy, Rambo Attack Cat, on here, and he runs hydro, and I'm not a huge fan of hydro, and I've said that to him, but man, does he get beautiful stuff, and man, is his system right on point, and it's just gorgeous shit, and I'm not one to knock someone for doing what they do, you know what I mean? You can do that's the way of the world. You got the right to do that, whether I believe it or not, whether I think it's what I would do or not. But yeah, this dude's got it. And I don't know what Power SI is made of. I see Wolverine advocates for that a lot. I'm not sure what it's made of, but it works. Whatever it is, it fucking works, because his stuff is beautiful, man. His stuff is just,
that's
I
what it
see it.
does. There's a lot of guys using that
Yeah.
side
I'm
back.
like, I'm envious of this one. This guy's like, there's guys like me who feel their way through it, kind of have a philosophy about it or a theory, and never do numbers and never test anything and just kind of go by what the plant's telling you. This guy's got numbers, and he knows how many parts per million, like each and every day, pretty much, how
He's
to
very
do it.
detailed,
Yeah,
very
he's
detailed and
meticulous.
very precise, and he understands it all very well. So
Yeah, yeah. See, that shit's beyond me. Like, I don't have the time, and my mind is just not built for. I mean, I'm detailed, and I could do it, but it's just not something I would do. You know what I mean? I've never been a chart, like take a feed chart and run off that.
well, it's like a golf swing, really. I mean, like he's practiced that. So, like, if he was like a Tiger Woods or something, it's easy to just watch him hit the ball and being amazed with it, And then you can get the same, you know what I mean? You can get the same golf club, the same clone, so to speak, or whatever, and be like way off in the distance from where he hit it.
Oh yeah,
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 he's very well
sure.
practiced at it too. That's
Yeah. Everybody's got their own little, thing, and it's about what works best for you, you know, just
totally.
like just like martial arts and all. I'm a huge martial arts fan. Like, I spend a lot of my time watching MMA. I take karate classes. I've practiced martial arts since I was 17. Not to mention, when I was a kid, I was always that kid that I'd watch an action movie and then run around the house kicking the chairs over and, karate chopping shit and stuff. So I've always loved that stuff. And it's, just like with that stuff, it's individual preference and what works for you and your environment and your situation. So, like, no one should ever feel like they have to try to mimic someone exactly, or hope that they can do that,
Yeah.
to begin with. Because if you're off by one thing, even if your humidity is different, you're gonna get a different result. But if you can dial it in and follow it, then and you like what they're doing, then you go for it. But yeah, he's amazing. There's a lot of friggin' amazing people that do a lot of very good growing, very, very good growing, and you see beautiful stuff. And the cool thing about it is they always try to do better the next time. always. They're always trying to improve and evolve, and you can see them doing it, and you can watch them, you know. Of course, there's those unlucky few who it's just disaster after disaster, you know, for them. And
Well, I even give them guys credit though too for showing that, just because
oh yeah,
that's the reality of shit. You know what I mean? Like it is easy to, and I'm guilty of that too. Like you don't want to put out a picture. I always double check pictures too. It's like, what
yeah.
are they gonna see in here? You know what I mean? I don't know. Just,
Dude, that brings like I was having a laugh with my girlfriend before this. Like she's like, is your face gonna be on there? Or are they just gonna hear you or whatever? I was like, oh, I'm gonna cover my face like I always do, but because the Grow Ghost had his face covered when, like, I did a whole bunch of YouTube videos. I've got a huge stack of
you got
stuff.
a YouTube too?
Well, I don't have it, but what I did was I started recording everything. Me
Okay.
testing all that stuff that I had seen online, the hot sauce, and like, does neem work for this, and how to get rid of fungus gnats and fungus gnat larvae in the soil,
Oh
and
yeah.
testing all that stuff and doing videos. And I always had my face covered. So that was always the theme of it. You know, I had a couple masks that I had found, and I'd wear those and talk shit and be stupid. A couple of them I'm using a hammer, busting up lava rocks, and I blow the end of my finger out, smash my hand, my friggin' finger just goes pop, you know. And I'm like, you know, so it's a bunch of but I was doing the video, so I'm talking to her, and I'm like, yeah, you know, I'm gonna cover my face or whatever. And I said, and I said, I hope I really like don't piss nobody off or anything when I go on there tonight. I said, but I'm just gonna say whatever I'm gonna say. I'm not gonna try to really teach anybody anything, because that's not really, you know, my thing. I'll tell you what I'm doing, and if you think it'll work for you, then that's cool or whatever. And I said, but I'm not. I said, what about should I say something about the pictures I see where there's like a pubic hair or something on the top bud, you know, and people
Leave it alone, man. Unless it's your buddies that you're gonna maybe smoke, just leave it
right,
alone.
right.
Leave it
So
alone.
like I get a kick out of, like, I'll laugh and laugh and laugh at the whole people taking huge dabs. Like, you see a video and you're like, okay, what's this about? And they're just like, and then they blow the smoke out and they go like that, and then that's it.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, okay, like, you took a hit and you blew it out in the screen, and that was probably that bud that had that hair on it. Or you're dabbing blasted bud rot and stuff. You never know what you got unless you're doing it yourself. I advise, like, if you can do it yourself, do it yourself. You know, because you never know what's out there. It's like you see like a lot of stuff in what was that I was watching? And the guy's like, I worked for or maybe it was on the chat on here or something. Someone said something about I worked for it was on my the guy, this dude on Instagram that I talked to, No Show More Grow. He says he posts this thing. It says they found mold in this weed at this dispensary down here in Missouri, right? And I see like, I mean, I couldn't believe the responses that were coming in. People were just boom, 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 comment. I mean, they were blowing it up, dude.
Huh.
And one of them says, I worked for a place in Alaska, and the bud was all moldy, so they just shipped it off to the United States, and they said, I don't give a fuck, we'll just blast it. And the person was like, you know, like, they just flat out said it, like, it's no big deal, you know. And I don't know how that works. I don't know if you know, if
Well, it's a loss of money for them for sure, but you
You're
know.
right, but do the spores get into the oil?
Well, no, there's filters for that. To my understanding, with like a BHO kind of a blasting or whatever they're talking about there, but there's screening for that, and then yeah,
You think it would stop the spores, or would
yeah.
it melt them and send them through like
No,
the?
there's special filters for that. They run them through
Oh,
different.
there is.
Yeah, there's like.
Oh,
I mean,
specifically,
I don't understand all the detail of it, but I know there's different chambers that they add, and there's like different filtering material that they run the liquid butane and the stuff through, and
okay.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
So
I've
it's not
seen it.
like
I've
running it
seen this
through.
stuff, but that's about it.
It's not like running it through a bubble bag. Microns and the spores would go right through. I remember reading a article in a High Times once where they sent like it was like Ask Ed or something, the old Ask Ed Rosenthal articles. They send in this question, says, "Can I smoke moldy roaches?"
No, don't. Why is that even a question?
Right? And they were like, the response was like something to the effect of, like, no, you don't want to do that. And even if you like the heat doesn't kill them, doesn't kill the spores. So if you think that's the case, then you're wrong. And even if you're like smoking it through a bong, which filters a lot of contaminants out, and was like like pretty much the cleanest way to smoke back then. It it still doesn't. It's still not good for you to do, to smoke the moldy buds and moldy roaches and stuff. So I've always wondered about that when I hear them say like, you're blasting something that was loaded with mites or thrips or mold or whatever, and it kind of lowers the bar. Hold on a second.
No, good. What's going on, chat? Oh. You're gonna smoke that, right? You got to jump off cam and smoke it or whatever.
I can sit like this.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I don't know, tilt it towards your flower there or whatever. Smoke down.
I'm sitting here right now and like everything's drying to the sides here. I'm sitting in the middle of the dry room. Everything I harvested this year is like hanging around me right now.
Yeah, that's the pain of the outdoors. All there, right?
Oh, dude, you ain't kidding, man. It's like I want to grow so much, and I'm happy when there's a lot of it, but then I got to trim it myself, break it down myself. So this year I'm not bothering with a lot of. I'm gonna make a lot of it into bubble instead. That way I can just freeze it and it can set until I'm ready.
Yeah, take a little pressure off.
Yeah, because last year I was like literally I was trimming for like 60 something days.
Oh, it's the Twilight Zone too, man. It seems like you never fucking like. I could have swore I at least put a dent in it.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, and then it's bag after bag of like shaggy shit you're pulling out, I'm like, oh man, no, it's like so cool to grow big plants, but it's really like if you don't need it, you're creating a lot of work for yourself that you just might not have time to do. You could find something better to do than that. I thought I was going to be able to get rid of it, commercially, but people just don't want it. They want to give me less than what I feel I have into it, and I'm the kind of guy like I'd rather put it in my soil than let you rake me over the coals.
Yeah, I guess.
So I've still got a lot from last year. I've got the majority of all my Clyde plants, which I ended up with That stuff, I tell you, this year was okay, but I always like to get big buds. I'm not one for the
larf.
well, not the larf, but like I don't want it all trimmed off the stick. I'm not worried about the 0.3 of the stick. I want to know I've got the top flower that was closest to the sun, that was pulling the most power, you know, because that's going to have the best flavor and it's going to be the densest and the stickiest and just the best part of the plant. So I leave it like that. You know what I mean? If it's solid and there's no breaks in it, like if you can't see through it,
Yeah.
that far down, that's what I'm taking and I'm jarring it like that, you know? So that stuff, I just have jar after jar after jar of flowers like that. The average flower was over 3 grams, and we're talking about across, you know, the plant being 3 pounds. So, I mean, those are good sized flowers. Each one weighing around an eighth. This year they didn't come out like that. Each one's so much different, you know.
What do you think was the difference?
Just the strain.
Okay.
Just the strain, you know what I mean? The structures are so much different on it varies so much. Like, you know, just that one happens to be one of those ones that does pretty well. Like, not like the stuff that I've seen some pictures online where they're just like the flowers are so massive that I can't believe it. I can't wrap my head around how the hell they got like that. But I like shit like that. The big, like really tough looking plants, not the. So, but I've got tons of it left, and I've got so much of it here that. Fuck.
Yeah, you may want to do something kind of bubble or do a little hash or something. Because even like if you got them really, my issue, I guess, with putting the whole stem and the buds in there is it seems like it's a bigger risk for mold in the long term, like you're talking there too. Just because the stem can house it, and its buds are laying tighter together, it's a more increased environment for that. But I hear you, man. It is cool to have that that whole fucking cola.
It's a bigger risk for sure if you don't get it right. If you put it in too wet, you're gonna get raw and you're gonna get mold. But I got lucky and got it all. Like, I haven't lost anything, so I've been lucky with it. It was it was a good. It all worked out good. I got it all in time and just at the right moment. It's all still pliable and spongy. It feels like it did right when I put it in the jar, and it's still sticky and smells good. It just lost its color, you know what I mean?
That's nice, man.
All the chlorophyll's out of it, but I'll never use it, you know what I mean? It's just so growing more than you need is just a fucking waste of time, really. Like,
make some cookies.
Yeah.
Make some RSO.
Yeah, I did that. I definitely did that, and I still have a freezer full of just stuff to make medicine out of. I wish I had somebody I could give it to, you know what I mean? If I knew somebody who was sick, I'd be like, here, take.
Oh, we got some people in the community for sure, man. We'll if you make it, they will come.
Yeah. There just ain't no one up here. They're like, hopefully they get more lenient on letting us pass it around the board, you know what I mean? Because I know with here, it's not, you can't cross with it.
I think the RSO, you'd be able to slip that through a little easier, just for the fact that they wouldn't necessarily register like some of the extract stuff. It just wouldn't, like raw flour. I think would be a little tougher just because of the smell and people recognize that right away, you know.
Yeah, definitely. But they shouldn't even bother with it. It should be able to send it to any other state where it's cool. You know, that just makes sense. Like, why does it fucking matter? Why can't we do that for each other? You know, tell me I can't send it to some sick motherfucker out there. That's somebody like, why would you tell me no for that? But
Yeah, if that happens though, man, you're gonna be up in the boonies and you'll see Cali weed.
Yeah, that would be nice. That would definitely be nice. Just getting this plain too cold out here. You guys don't get a lot of snow?
We get our fair share. I'm kind of mid-state in Michigan, like Grand Rapids area. So
Like
I
how
don't know,
many?
further north, like Eagles pretty far north, 2.5 hours north, I guess. But they get there's kind of like a snow belt, so he'll get a lot more snow up there, and the UP will too. So
How much do you guys get?
100 and I don't even know. Last year we didn't get shit, I don't think. But it seems like around the 110, 115 mark, 20, something like that.
Inches of snow?
Yeah. Because we'll get lake effect snow too. So I'm close enough to Lake Michigan where that'll kind of come in. So,
do they count it like it comes in and it lands and then it melts?
yeah.
And they count. So you guys don't have it like sitting on the ground, really?
No, not usually. Not like we used to. I mean,
yeah, we do. It's bad, man. Like the snowbanks will be like touching the bottom of the power lines bad.
damn.
Yeah, dude, after they plow, like it's a full-time, it could be a full-time job for you just to keep your fucking driveway clean.
So why do you guys get hammered so bad there? Is it just is there water that close to the ocean and shit?
Yeah, it's just where it is. Like this is where people come to snowmobile, you know. It's like that. Like our snowmobile trails are like roads.
Yeah.
People love to use them, so everybody floods up here to go ride our snowmobile trails. We get a lot of snow, and it's just no fun. And the older you get, it's even worse, you know, because you gotta shovel your roof off. You gotta, those chores are ahead of you this winter, and it's nothing to look forward to anymore.
Right.
Like I'm not having a snowball fight, or going sledding. So I'd love to be in California or somewhere like that where
yeah, no shit.
you don't have to.
It's down into like the 50s. That's their winter. That's their winter is like 60 degrees.
Yeah. Yeah, it's too bad, man. You had to put on a long sleeve shirt, you know.
Right? Yeah, no shit. No, they all wear coats, dude. They get their coats out like it's winter and shit. They're like, no, it's cold.
Yeah, that's adaptation for you right there.
Right.
Human adaptation. Like I'm used to it being much warmer. Not like, have you ever seen Wim Hof?
Oh, is that the guy that sits in the water or whatever?
Yeah.
Ice cold water.
Sits in he does. Yeah. It's crazy, man. He sits in the water. Yeah, the freeze water.
I don't know. I mean, you can concentrate on your breathing and you can warm up your body like he does, but I don't know how he gets past his nuts getting in the cold water, dude. The minute they hit the ice water, I'd be like, oh, fuck this. Like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah. You put a foot in and you're turned around holding yourself.
Well, you can usually make it to about your knee, maybe, but yeah, get above the knee and you're like, I don't know about this shit, man.
Yeah. You'd catch me jumping out of like 50-degree water, so I can't imagine. But he runs around in his boxers and like up on Mount Everest.
Yeah, like it's crazy.
He literally does that. Like does handstands and shit in the snow. I don't understand it. Yeah, it's cold.
Yeah, something about it changes his breathing or something. I don't know. His blood circulation, whatever it is. But yeah, it's pretty amazing, some of that.
Yeah, I think he's like 600 years old or something from doing it, make you live forever.
Right?
Go out and fucking freeze yourself to death. I don't know. Yeah, it's no fun. It's definitely no fun to be that cold, but it's that cold up here. You have to be Wim Hof to enjoy
it. I guess. Boom Farm enjoys it, so
who's that?
Boom Farms. He's on the show often. He's way up in Canada, and he gets like negative 50 fucking degrees, whatever.
Yeah,
And
those guys have to stay inside a lot, I bet.
he'll go out in his shorts and shovel, and
No way. Really? Holy cow.
Eagle shovels all his shit too, man. I don't know how, dude. I can't stand it. I got just a normal
Shorts?
2-lane driveway, and I don't shovel that. I got a fucking snowblower.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure, man. Makes it a lot easier. Makes it a lot easier.
I'm gonna hit a dab here. Cheers, Chad. It's 20 after the hour, so
What time is it?
it's 20 after the hour, man. So
12 or
just doing the usual, you know.
20
The
after?
ability to play the dab song. Eagle, I've seen him in chat. Maybe he can hop in and we can throw the dab song. And...
Oh shit. It's 3:22 in the morning.
Yeah, bro.
Holy shit. Where'd you go?
You shut your camera or something off.
There we go. Yeah, I'm gonna have to. I didn't realize it was that late, man.
That's why I said 20 after the hour, so you wouldn't realize it was that late.
Yeah, I gotta be up shortly and watch my daughter all day tomorrow. So.
Oh, definitely, man. Yeah, you gotta.
Yeah.
I've been really appreciating the conversation, dude. It was fucking great hanging out with you, and I know Chad appreciated it too. You didn't get to see Chad, but I know they were. I was just letting you know they were saying, "Hey, man, Grogos is a cool ass dude." So they were just kind of digging it. I threw your Instagram out in the link.
Yeah.
So yeah. So hopefully people are throwing you some follows. So people in chat, go follow Grogos and tell him you enjoyed the show. And Eagle's here, and he's gonna have to record your the radio soundbite. So you got to do the fucking talking shit soundbite for Eagle.
I say that watch talking shit with Eagle. Watch fucking.
You can say whatever the fuck you want. You can be like, "This is the fucking Grow Ghost."
You better
You're on the fucking Halloween show with the blue moon outside, full moon, talking some crazy shit. Whatever you want.
Okay.
You know how it goes.
You gotta record it, Smiley, or you gotta give me back the host. Yeah, you got.
And then I have to say where I'm at.
You have to say. Have to say, "Hey, this is the Grow Ghost, and I'm on fucking talking shit with Eagle, episode 222."
222. Lucky number. Good deal. All right, this is the Grow Ghost, and I'm on episode 222 of fucking talking shit with Eagle.
Hell yeah. I appreciate it, man. I was listening while I was driving down the highway, man. You guys did deliver a fucking great episode. You know, it's different being on the other side, but man, I was driving down the highway. This show gets, asked to be put on like a podcast type form. So I'm always, on this side of it. I'm not that on the other side that often, but I'm driving down the highway and I'm going, this would be a fucking good podcast. You know what I mean? I fucking listened all the way fucking 2-hour drive. I fucking listened to that shit. I didn't watch. I fucking listened to it. And,
Eagle's the next Joe Rogan. You watch, dude. You'll be selling your shit to Spotify in a couple of years. $3 million bucks. Fucking right, dude. Why not? I mean, it more and more people show up. It's cool. Fucking, I appreciate you having me on. It was fun, dude. I like to run my mouth, so it's a good place to be where they want you to talk.
It was a good one. Smiley did a great job. You were an excellent guest. I was bummed I wasn't here. I'm like, man, this is fucking a good one. You sound like a fucking fun guy to hang out with. We have a lot in common, that's for sure, man.
Oh hell yeah, that's yeah. I'm sure I'm not going nowhere. So, anytime you want to talk more shit.
Well, that's the thing there. I don't know if you know that, but one of the things of having to do this part of the episode is that, you know, keep the Zoom numbers, because anytime there's a rabbit hole and you want to jump in and come hang out, whatever, feel free. You don't even need a fucking invitation. You just got to
that's
want to.
real cool. I
That's
didn't
all
know
you
that
get.
half this works, so that's cool. Hell yeah. Yeah, I'll definitely do that for sure. For sure.
Dope as shit, man.
Yeah, cool. All right, it's 3:27. That's another one of my lucky numbers. So I'm gonna jump off and hit the hay.
Awesome, bro. Enjoy your
And I'll
time
get
with your
back
dog,
at
man.
you guys. Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks, Smiley.
Thank you.
Have a great.
You too, guys. Take care.
Great job, Smiley. For reals, though.
Yeah,
For
thanks.
real.
He made it easy, dude. He's a great guest. Cool ass dude. Had a great story. I don't know.
Really enjoyed listening. I did. You guys made it fun on my end. I really enjoyed it. It's like I said, it's not that often where I get to sit and listen on this side of it, but man, you guys nailed it, man.
All right,
It's,
yeah, cool. To me, it's just hanging out. I don't know. This is just another dude hanging out.
I did hear a couple of things tonight on both sides, his side and your side. But there's a couple of things I was like, yes. I did too, man. I was like, attaboy.
Oh, my bad. That's funny shit. Did you see my message? I shouldn't even say it. Never mind. We got to jump in a rabbit hole, though, so we can hear about your concert.
Right on, right on.
Yeah.
All right.
Appreciate everybody in chat hanging out. We were rocking like 70, man, for a while. I didn't catch it. I didn't get to see the number move around a lot. I just peeked at it a couple times and it was in the 70s. So that was pretty dope, man. I appreciate everybody hanging out with us, and it's fucking awesome.
Chat's making me feel bad. They're like, you even missed a good chat. Well, I couldn't read the chat while I was driving, but I listened to a great interview.
Yeah, that's good.
I just guess I'll have to go back and watch the chat tomorrow.
Yeah.
Let's get this rabbit hole going.
All right, I'll jump out.
I'll see you in a few, man. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for Smiley for holding it down so I can spend a fucking great time with my daughter. Man, I needed some fucking father-daughter time. And it was a pleasure to get to see her boyfriend fucking play on stage there. That was my first time seeing his musical capabilities. It wasn't his normal band, but it was a good night indeed. Good night indeed. So hopefully you guys will transfer over into the rabbit hole. Come join us, have some fun. And if not, well, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening to this amazing episode. The Grow Ghost laid down. Smiley's Gardens holding down the fort for me. I can't say enough great things about Smiley, man. He just continues to help me out and be an amazing person in this fucking community. Shout out to you, Smiley's Gardens. But I'll see you guys in a minute. I'll fire it right back up. I'll just grab make me a quick glass of coffee, cup of coffee, and be right back. Thank you guys for popping in. You guys know the deal. Random acts of kindness do save lives. And man, every day I couldn't believe more in that. See you guys in a few.